that we all have to fill in terms of protecting and preserving this beautiful coast, the Big Sur coast. So we're going to take a moment at this point to honor Steve Beck. And I think I will start to see, let's start with our representatives who are here from the dais. And I believe everyone has brought something. And if we could, I'm just wanting to get this right for the public. Is the public on the Zoom as well? They don't want us to stand in front. So maybe we'll do this from the back here, if that's okay. And then we'll open it up for anyone and everyone who would like to say a few words. So are there members of Steve's family that are here to join us today? Sydney, will you come forward to the, or you don't have to. You absolutely don't have to. We can do this from here, but we have some, each of us have certificates and some words to share. So we'll direct them at you and the public, and you can stay right there. Okay. Why don't we start here with Congressman Jimmy Panetta's office, Emmanuel Garcia, and we will hand it to you, Emmanuel.
Thank you so much. My name is Manny Garcia. I'm the District Director representing Panetta. And yes, I just wanted to present this award of special congressional recognition, honoring the legacy of Steve Beck, a Big Sur community member that had unwavering support for the place that many of us call home, and would be dearly missed. And we just want to honor as many contributions he did to our community and honor that legacy. Thank you.
Thank you, Emmanuel. Senator John Laird. Just lift your seat up. There we go.
Thank you. I have been coming to these meetings for almost 25 years, and it is hard to imagine a meeting without Steve Beck. He was just an integral part of this, and it's just hard to even put into words what his role was and just how he participated and how he was part of the fabric of this community and making sure that we knew certain things that we might not know. So on behalf of the state Senate, I have an official recognition acknowledging his leadership and unwavering dedication and his enduring contributions to Big Sur. We'll be happy to present at the program time.
Thank you, Senator. Assemblymember Adams.
Well, we want to join Sydney. We want to join in just expressing our condolences from the State Assembly and join others who have talked about how incredibly special Steve is. I know my interactions with Steve were solely from BSMAAC and just what an important part of this group that he was. And for your daughter, Zoe, we just heartfelt condolences from all of us and how much we are with you in missing him, and just grateful to you as well and your family for the amount of time and dedication that you put in, that Steve put in to support this amazing community.
Thank you, Assemblymember. And I'll just say that it is such a gift, and it's going to be replicated by future folks who come here and make this place their home. To find a place like Big Sur and then to take on the responsibility of caring for it and being that steward of the place that you move to and come to love so deeply is something I think that, you know, we really need to ensure we're passing on to the next generation and that responsibility. And I think of all the interactions that I had with Steve, they were always about protecting this place and preserving this place. And I think that the best way that we can honor Steve is by taking a problem as seemingly insurmountable as pampas grass and doing everything we can to eradicate that invasive species, right? And there are others But we all have work to do, and it's one of those things that it's an overwhelming challenge. But you can make progress in, taking one, square foot at a time. And I think the best thing that we can do as leaders in remembering Steve and honoring him is to really take on challenges like that seem insurmountable, and perhaps in particular pampas grass. And really, let's make a difference. Let's do it. Let's get this invasive species off the coast. It is possible, and if it weren't possible, I know we wouldn't have tried so hard advocating to eradicate pampas grass. So, with that, we too at the District 5 office have a certificate of recognition for the family, and I just express our condolences and sadness. Steve is going to be so missed, especially here in these BSMAAC meetings and the Big Sur Byway organization. So with that, I'll open it up to the dais and anyone who'd like to make remarks, and then we'll open it up to the public. And we'll start with, is there anyone on the dais who'd like to make some comments?
Yes, just a brief one. Many years ago, back in the dark ages, we had a volunteer ambulance here. American Red Cross volunteer ambulance. And Steve was a member of that, responding from Esplon and taking care of medical emergencies at Esplon. So we no longer have that, obviously, but he was a key person down there. I could rely on him to start medical care before the ambulance got there, as it was stationed up at Caltrans. So just for that part of his life, many of you didn't know about, I want to mention.
I'll just add that, whether you know it or not, if you've been in Big Sur for more than a week, Steve has touched your life in some way, and in a meaningful way. And he certainly will be missed. And it's something, his service to this community is something we can all aspire to, and it will lift all of us and make this a much stronger community. We'll miss him.
Anyone on that end of the dais want to add any words?
If not, we can open it up to public comment. If there's anyone in the public who would like to make some words, please just head over to the microphone, and we look forward to hearing from you.
Steve showed up. That's what Steve did. Steve showed up. Whatever was needed, Steve showed up. And he remembered. Am I supposed to be? He did everything, but I'm not allowed to touch something. He showed up not just once and not just for an emergency, but all the time. He was the marathoner. I first remember starting work on the Big Sur Mountains Plan update at the LUAC in 2002. And I think he went to every meeting from then till now. So we just lost him about that same subject, never giving up. So I think if we're talking about BSMAAC bylaws, we probably should put something in there that you can indeed hold a public meeting without Steve being present.
Steve was the call to action. Steve really modeled what it means to be a great citizen when we need that modeling in today's society. And he would look to each of you in your official capacity, and he would tell you what you're doing well, and he would tell you what you needed to improve. Steve was on the board of directors for Big Sur Fire. He was on the board of directors of Deachins. He was on the Big Sur Land Use Advisory Committee. He was on the Big Sur Byways Commission. He served a number of roles from Esalen and Clear Ridge Association. Like Rick said, if you've been in Big Sur for a week, Steve had a question somehow or another. Steve was also a good friend of mine. He was a great advisor, and he modeled what it meant to live in Big Sur, and that even living in a remote place, living on a hilltop, we could still be involved in the greatest of our American civil rights and speak up for democracy in the most little way and in the most big way possible. Steve would require a call to action, not complacency in his passing. So in any opportunity to step up in your role, now's the time to do it. Do it for Steve and for all of us to continue to speak for Steve's voice. Thanks.
Thank you. I'm probably the one in Newton the least longest, having only lived here 5 years. But I remember coming to my first BSMAAC meeting and seeing this guy. I came from Southern California, a real urban area. And I see this guy stand up in suspenders and this plaid shirt. And he's talking about ciabatta grass and pampas grass. And I'm like, wow, I like this guy. He's pretty cool. And what I found out is that's just how Steve is. As Matt said, he was on our board very shortly, the Big Sur Fire Board, and we miss him so much. The few months he was on, he was huge. He made a big difference. He read every policy that we have in Big Sur Fire. I don't know many people who've done that. He was on LUAC, as we've talked about. The thing that I admired most about him is he did everything not for money and not for glory. He did it because it was the right thing to do. And that's something that really impressed upon my soul. And after he passed, I told all my friends in Southern California, you just missed a true man of the soil and of the land, because he just passed away, and it breaks my heart. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Marcus Foster. I'm a Big Sur resident, and I served with Steve on the Land Use Advisory Committee. He was my mentor. He kind of taught me, clarity, the importance of this in my hand, the land use plan. And it always came down to that. He knew this plan like back of his hand. And without this, we lose Big Sur. The way he spoke, the clarity on issues, drilling into me the importance of this land use plan. And I think that's how we honor him, as we follow the policies, which are basically laws of the plan, or else we lose this place. So that's how I'd like to honor Steve, is really enforcing our land use plan. And, just when the visual of Steve in his suspenders and dirt under his fingernails from working the soil here for decades. I mean, he's the epitome of when you think of a Big Sur local, think of Steve Beck.
My name's Geraldine, had known Steve for about 20 years since I first came to Big Sur Beach. We are the reason I Big Sur. But to echo, of course, what everyone said, he showed up. He was passionate. He said the things that needed to be said. He told us the things we needed to know that we might not have wanted to know. But what I want to say is that he did it with such heart and such kindness and such presence. It was never done in an escalated or conflictual way. His modeling of what it meant to be present to what needed to be said and how to show up and how to bring passion to it also modeled what it meant to be present and do it from the heart. That's one of the things that I will miss so much of.
Thank you so much. Is there any other public comment? Well, with that, we will be sure to deliver these certificates to all of you before we leave today. And just thank you everyone for being here, and what an important reminder today in terms of the work we have to do to protect this beautiful place, as was so symbolized by the type of resident and lover of this place that Steve was. So thank you all very much. With that, I realize I forgot to take a vote for the minutes. So the minutes have not yet been approved. So we're going to go back to item number 3. Is there a motion?
Made a motion.
You motioned. Is there a second?
Second.
Second. Perfect. All those in favor of approving the July 11th, 2025 minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
Or is there anyone opposed? Is there anyone abstaining?
I'm insane.
You're abstaining. You don't have to abstain, even if you weren't here, but I will accept your abstention. Thank you, Rick. Okay, with that, the minutes have passed and we are going to move on to public comment on non-agenda items, limited to 3 minutes per public commenter.
My name is Sandra Koning. I'm here on behalf of my daughter Eleanor. I'd like to speak further about illegal school bus passing. She's at school now and this time didn't work for her. She wrote, there have been attempts to allow stop arm cameras not once but twice. They have been stopped for reasons such as concerns about due process and privacy. Enforcement cameras on stoplights issue fines to people after footage is reviewed by an officer. So that's okay, but when you put a camera on a school bus to protect children, it's a concern of due process. Areas where stop arm cameras have been installed have seen a massive decrease in illegal passers and in the prevalence of repeat offenders. In Miami, stop arm cameras were permitted, and $1.5 million in fines were issued in the first 2 weeks of school. This issue seriously affects her classmates, and presumably the youth of California. And she also said that this meeting time is unconsciously excluding many contributors, young people.
Hi, my name is Sharon Christina Wilson, and I am here to talk about what's gonna happen here tomorrow, which is the Big Sur River Run. Kendra Morganrath and myself are the co-directors. And I hope some of you will join us tomorrow. You can still sign up. You can sign up at the river run itself. And I just want to take a minute to say thank you to all the sponsors, because the people that sponsor are most of the Big Sur businesses. And they've done this despite the fact that the roads have been closed and they have suffered some losses. So we really appreciate that. I do want to say that we're very proud to announce that as of this moment, we have 670 participants signed up. And unfortunately, we may not have enough t-shirts and bibs, but we're working on that as we're speaking, because we didn't expect this many. We grew from 3 years ago, like 400 to now 670, and we still have the rest of today to go and tomorrow morning. So if you all want to sign up, that's 30 people. That'll bring us right to 700. We look forward to seeing you there. Thank you.
Thank you, Sharon. Hi, my name is Janet Somerville, and I wanted to thank, first of all, thank all the many people that hung tough for the last 12 years and were responsible for seeing this vacation rental ordinance to the end. I would especially like to thank the Big Sur neighbors and friends, our Harlem, Carmel, and Carmel neighbors, and well as the county planners, board of supervisors, and coastal commission, and all the behind the scenes people. I'm just so sorry that so many people have passed and never got to see the final result. I am also very grateful that the county, as well as the coastal commission, decided to prohibit commercial vacation rentals within the residential communities of Big Sur, as well as the entire planning area. A lot of you, I know, do not know all the particulars, and there have heard all sorts of different variations or rumors. So I wanted to touch on some of the definitions in the new vacation rental ordinance. You all know that commercial vacation rentals are prohibited, but limited vacation rentals and homestays will be allowed to take place within the primary home with restrictions. Limited vacation rentals will be allowed only 3 times a year, and homestays will be allowed 365 days a year if the homeowner can do it right. All vacation rentals, in this case, limited vacation rentals and homestays, must take place in a single family residential unit, which is the primary home. They are not allowed in duplex dwellings, multifamily dwellings, accessory dwellings, or junior accessory dwellings, guest houses, and many other structures, including trailers. Homestay means a vacation rental in which the homeowner occupies at least one bedroom within the vacation rental where it is being rented out as a vacation rental. The vacation rental must be the owner's primary home. Here lies some confusion. Evidently, somebody suggested that they ought to be allowed in guest houses. But it was decided evidently that they would not, because that is not in the ordinance. And my thoughts were that because of the update of the LUAP, of the LUP and the vacation rental ordinance, and these sort of conflicted with each other. The planning commissioners wanted to update the LUAP with the land use plan to allow the allow guest houses and caretaker houses, that's housing. But in the vacation rental ordinance, they were gonna allow, so I guess they decided better not be there, so that would be something you would have to talk to the housing and community development about. With both the board of supervisors and the postal commission adopting the ordinance as is, vacation rentals must take place only within a single family dwelling unit, the primary home, and no other structure. So there was scope for housing still. Plus, the fact that both the county and the postal commission agreed shutting down approximately 4 commercial vacation rentals operating in the land use plan area, and which have are taking place in guest houses. That
So Janet,
was one of the deciding factors. Thinking back, all of our long-term housing was guest houses. Everybody, or quite a few people were
Janet,
lived in.
I just wanted to say that, I want to make sure everyone's aware that immediately following this meeting at 1 o'clock is going to be the webinar for an hour, and we're lucky enough to have Melanie Beretti here in the room for us. We're going to show the webinar on the short-term rental and ordinance, and I think a lot of this we can answer both in the meeting today, but also at the 1 o'clock webinar, that we're going to wrap up this meeting soon, early enough that we can let everyone either get home or stay here for the webinar. So you've gone over the 3 minutes. You want to wrap it up real quick for us?
Well, I'll just wrap it up with, basically, guest houses are not allowed to be used as a.
Right into the microphone.
Guest houses aren't allowed to be used as a homestay in the coastal zone, so, thank you.
Got it. That's something we need to address, and thank you. Thank you. That is very important. Okay, and will you do the timing for me, just so we can stay on track? Thank you.
Thank you. I hope I don't need to be timed. My name is Rita Ostrom, and I've lived in this community for a really long time, over 50 years, knew some of your folks. And this is the first time I've been to a BSMAAC meeting. I could have come here to honor Steve Beck from Esalen Institute, because Steve was always the one who brought us down from our woo-woo land into what real and can be accomplished here. And one of our accomplishments is the massage school. I think we were founded in 1983, and I think we're the only massage school operational right now in the county. So when I hear that the county is changing the ordinance from 100 hours to a 500-hour requirement, we're approved to give that 500-hour requirement, but that's a big change. That requires a real curriculum. We need to spin into action, and particularly to offer it at all locally. So we humbly request that this ordinance change be put aside, and that a greater timeline be put in place if in fact you are moving to a 500-hour requirement. I think there's several people in the room here. I mean, wouldn't you all like to get a massage right now? And we have several trained people here. Deborah Meadow, one of our teachers, is here. We have a good school and we have a good training, and we'd like to be included as stakeholders in any decision like this, and any change in, and what I'm speaking to directly, just to clarify, is eliminating, as I understand it, the massage tech permit and changing it to the acceptance of the statewide law, which many areas don't accept, and most cities do. So I'm here to advocate for ongoing employment of massage here in the Monterey County, and particularly in Big Sur, and to work gradually toward implementing a longer permit if that's what's necessary. Thank you. You want to add a little bit to that?
There are many of our hotels here that use practitioners right now who make the requirement, they have 100 hours and maybe more, but they don't have 500 hours. So it could affect our larger community, the hotels where many of our practitioners, a lot of them were trained at Esalen, some other places, but they don't have 500 hours. So it would affect the businesses and their ability to get practitioners. So it's something that we of course have lots of hours, so it's not about us, it's about the larger community. So we would appreciate what Rita said and having a little more input on this and a longer timeline if it's actually going to move towards 500 hours. Thanks so much for this. Oh, I'm Deborah.
Thank you, Deborah. Thank you both for that topic and bringing it to our attention. Marcus?
Hello again. Thank you for this opportunity. My name is Marcus Foster. I'm a Big Sur resident and co-founder of Keep Big Sur Wild. My topic today, in my public comment, is I want to talk about the restrooms proposed restrooms at Garrapata and Sobranes. State Park's nice enough to have site visits for public input on that. I think if you were here at some of the BSMAACs, you saw some of the renderings of the potential restrooms. There seems to be what I'm taking from talking with people and being on these site visits, there seems to be this idea that there is some flexibility in the critical viewshed aspect of this proposed development. And I want to make it clear that the flexibility is the use of screening. And I'll just read from the land use plan. It's a policy, it's a law. In order to provide low intensity support facilities for the State Parks of California system of parks on the Big Sur coast, flexibility in the basic viewshed policy may be permitted to allow use of excavating, berming, and indigenous plant screening at Sobranes Point and Garrapata Beach. So that's, typically when you have a new development, whether it's houses, whether it's some sort of public development, you can't use screening to hide the development. In this case, you can, but you cannot see any of it from turnouts on the highway. Development shall be considered to be within the critical viewshed if any portion of the proposed development is visible from Highway 1, including pullouts, right-of-ways, and walkways at the highway's edge or major public viewing areas. To this end, all future public or private development which would be visible within the critical viewshed shall be prohibited. And I think you don't want these restrooms to be seen from the highway because we don't want the traveling public to use these restrooms because it's already a problematic area for the people going hiking or to the beach. You're just going to create an incredibly, more of a choke point on Highway 1. Since I have a little bit of time, I want to talk about Car Week and a half. You have 30 seconds. It has gotten out of control. It's way bigger than the founders of the concourse anticipated. We need to scale it back. And it was taking people that I know that had a doctor appointment from Carmel to Monterey. It took them almost 4 hours to get back to Carmel from Monterey on one of those days. And if we're going to continue with this large scale event, C Monterey, who promotes this event, has to stop greenwashing us and take away their sustainable tourism marketing tool, because there's nothing, it's probably the most unsustainable event I can think of, with 500 private jets and tens of thousands of cars coming to the peninsula. We need to scale back that event. Thank you.
Hi, Heather Chapelet Lanier. I just wanted to speak about the highway. Aside from Marcus mentioning the choke points that we all know and love and hopefully watch out for, the turnouts where people are crossing the highway unsafely constantly. There's also just the garbage aspect of construction and reconstruction and people not making decisions about a longer term solution to situations, and using orange cones, for instance, and caution tape. And then you see that caution tape blowing over the edge and the orange cones going over the edge. And that really beautiful retaining wall at Bixby that had a nice coating of jute over it to sort of soften it and make it look nicer. But, you know, within a couple of weeks, that jute had fallen down and, you know, it's then swagged sort of over it. So I just wonder if, like, whose responsibility is, like, at my house, if it's a mess, I know it's my responsibility to clean up. I don't know whose responsibility it is to help us care for our highway. And there are often times when I'm seeing things and I would like to stop, but it's probably not a really great place for me to be on the highway to get those cones off the edge or whatever it is. So just as a resident who loves this drive, I would so love to, I'd be happy to help. I just don't know how to help. And I've brought this up before, like, we could have work days, or, and I know there is before the marathon and maybe after the marathon, but more than that. And then some longer term solutions than orange cones. The other thing I want to bring up is it's quite confusing to the public, the areas that say they have construction and then sort of do and sort of don't. And some of the signs get covered, like the 45-mile-an-hour signs get covered with a piece of cloth, and some of them don't. And sometimes people are stopping because they think they should, or there's a lot of those orange, like, flagger ahead signs just get left up on the highway. I don't know if any of you are here enough to see that, but they just get left, but there's no flaggers today, or haven't been for weeks. So it seems like the construction companies don't have really any mandate to keep their sites clean or to keep them current. So those of us who think, oh yeah, they're done with that, you know, that's not happening, and we're going through there, well, maybe faster than we should. Who knows, really, you know, whether somebody's going to come upon somebody who's at work that day or not at work that day, because the signage is not current. And that I find is very dangerous. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Is there any more public comment on non-agenda items? So we got a lot of public comment, a lot of unanswered questions. So I'm really hoping that when we get to our agency and member updates, that, you know, whether it's or non-member updates, it could be the byway organization update or Caltrans or County HCD, that if you do have some feedback or responses, that you do please incorporate that into your comments. All right, with that, we're going to close that agenda item and we're going to move to our only new business on the agenda today. And I'm hoping that we can put up on the screen the bylaws, and I hope everyone had the opportunity to follow the link when the email went out, where you would have found not only the bylaws, but several subsequent resolutions that were adopted by this council over the years to add other members, additional members to the council. And the reason that I added this agenda item to today's agenda is because I think it actually relates a lot to what Marcus Foster was talking about and the Big Sur land use plan. And just to remind folks, if it's helpful, you know, what this council was created to do. and to help us make it even more effective. That's the goal, to ensure that this incredible time that we have together with all of you from the community and all of the folks that are here on the dais to not only solve problems, but to ensure consistency with the Big Sur land use plan. So what I'm gonna show and I don't see it up there. So I'm just gonna start by reading, it's a very short set of bylaws, and we do have Michael Wilden here from County Council to answer any questions that folks may have. How many folks got a chance to look at the bylaws? Martha, thank you. Jessica, thank you. These are our two District 5 planning commissioners. We are so lucky to have Martha Deal and Jessica Hartzell as our District 5 planning commissioners who care so much about this area and this portion of the coast that they are going line by line, page by page through the Big Sur land use plan right now as we speak on a rather weekly basis. So thank you all. So just gonna start here with the purpose and duties of, and I'm glad we have it up there because it didn't seem like these were missing for a very long time. I guess that's the context that I want to share with you. You know, I've been engaged with the county since 2017 and served 5 years on the planning commission and had been asking and looking for since the very first, BSMAAC meeting that I came to, looking for these bylaws, and they were found late last year by Colleen Courtney of Mary Adams' office. So here we have them, and let's enjoy it. So I'm going to go ahead and just read the purpose and duties because it's 3 short paragraphs. The council was established, and when we say council, the name of it is the Big Sur Multi-Agency Advisory Council, referred to thereafter by council. The council was established by the Monterey County Board of Supervisors by resolution number 86443 on July 8th, 1986. The council shall facilitate communication and coordination among the governmental agencies that have jurisdiction within the Big Sur area and the residents and landowners of the area, and to review and make recommendations on proposed projects and developments by federal, state, and local agencies for the purpose of reviewing their compliance with specific policies of the certified Big Sur Coast land use plan. The council shall review all proposed projects and programs and report to its member agencies on a regular basis. The council may recommend to its member agencies appropriate agreements with public agencies and private nonprofit organizations to further the purpose of the Big Sur Coast land use plan. The council may make such other recommendations to the Forest Service or other appropriate federal, state, and local agencies as it may deem necessary to carry out its purposes. And then below that are all of the members that are on the council, as well as we get into sort of rules and policies about how the meetings are conducted and who sits on the council, et cetera. The second thing I want to bring to your attention that was linked to in the email that went out are a number of resolutions that were passed, because the original membership composition did not include, for example, our assembly member or our senator, did not include the Monterey Bay Marine Sanctuary, did not include the Monterey Peninsula Regional Park District, but all of these entities, having them at the table in terms of governing Big Sur, it made sense. So you, as the public or folks on this dais, came forward and made the recommendation to pass a resolution and increase the size and membership. And so also attached was a resolution from 1994, one from 1995, one from 1997, one from 2000, all adding membership. And what I'll read from the original resolution was about how to add folks to the council. And that is that, let's see here. Okay, so it says here that by invitation of the council, other representatives such as the Carmel Unified School District, California State University, Monterey Bay, National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, and the California Department of Fish and Game may be invited to participate on non-voting basis in the proceedings of the council on such terms determined by the council. And as you will see, folks like NOAA were added at a later basis to become full members of the council. So with that, I think we have a county council here, and I just want to open it up to any questions that folks may have about the Big Sur Multi-Agency Advisory Council. And perhaps use this time to gain a better understanding of what we're doing. And my goal, of course, is also how we can do it better. We have a huge responsibility here to preserve and protect, right, the Big Sur coast. And we have this amazing quarterly meeting that brings all of you together every single quarter to do this work and to uphold the policies that were so carefully and thoughtfully crafted in the land use plan. So with that, I'm gonna first open it up to folks at the dais, who have maybe any comments or questions. And then we'll open it up to the public, and we'll see where this takes us. And you may not have any questions.
Do you need it up still?
No, it's okay, thank you. Why don't we open it up to the public then?
Can't believe Marcus was there, and I just was not prepared for that. Quite the deal. I'm here because one of the things that I say frequently, I just want to say again in this context. And that is that the Big Sur Multi-Agency Advisory Council is the place where people come face to face to have actual conversations. It's not a bulletin board, it's not an information bureau. It is all those things in part, but it's the opportunity for us to identify places where we have overlaps or conflicts and deal with them face to face. It is unusual, it is precious, and I really value that everybody comes themselves. And I really think that in this case, it's really a gift that we don't do remote meetings, because looking somebody in the eye is different from looking at them over the internet. So my value for this is immense. I really appreciate that the people get a chance to converse rather than make a comment and sit down, of course, because I love to talk, as you know. But my specific comment is that I believe that one of the categories that is inadequately represented here is public utilities. I think that PG&E, AT&T, and other public utilities operating on the coast have a significant impact, both on the viewshed, as we can all think about looking at the wires, but also in services to residents, planning for the future, people who, we talk about buses, we talk about location. So I'd like for us to consider involving some of the voices of public utilities and public services in here somehow. PG&E would be, as we talked about before, a major voice that we would like to hear. I know we have a lot of situations where PG&E and subcontractors right now are not communicating as clearly as they might be, not only with residents, but with emergency service providers. Some things like that could be worked out here if we had some face-to-face communication. So that's just my pitch, is could we look at that category and identify some key players who could come and be part of the ongoing conversation, not just make a report and go home, but to be here, to hear where they could, for example, identify something they could do to help with a problem that might not obviously be their problem. We could do our work on the power line at the same time that Caltrans is doing the work, and we could then maybe reduce the amount of impact to the highway, something like that. So that's my pitch.
Given the second paragraph of Article 2 of the bylaws, I want to make a formal request to include Carmel Unified School District to be represented on the BSMAAC. Starting this year, the Carmel Unified School District, in compliance with the California Voting Rights Act, has subdivided the school district into trustee areas. including trustee area 3, to which I was elected in November. So as an elected official representing specifically the Big Sur area and a little bit of the mouth of Carmel Valley, given the first public comment that we had from Eleanor Koenig about public safety related to school buses and student issues, I think it would only make sense. Now, there's a through line related to the Big Sur land use plan and the school district, Captain Cooper school site being one of them, school bus stops and school bus routing being part of it, but also the interface and the interagency work, as example in the Rocky Creek issue that we had last year, when the school bus was brought to the table, when MOT and the school district was brought into the conversation, the concerns of the students of Big Sur were really brought to the forefront. This is a good venue to hear that. So I would like to make a formal request to the Board of Supervisors to consider adding the trustee area 3 of Carmel Unified School District to the BSMAAC.
And you know, what I'll say is that everybody, it would benefit to go look at the bylaws and understand the process and the procedures. Because if I understand correctly, when that's been done in the past, and Michael, you can chime in, but when that's been done in the past, there actually has been a vote by this council on whether or not to add an agency for the benefit of the council to the BSMAAC council. And then it goes to the Board of Supervisors and they vote on that resolution. So there is a process, and I think over time, you know, we've lost touch with what that process actually is. And so if that's something that this council desires, there is a way to do that. Michael.
Thank you, Chair. And I can add, elaborate on that process, as it's not entirely clear from the bylaws. At the end of the bylaws, it goes over amending the bylaws. And it would require an amendment in order to add a new member to this council. The requirement generally for this council is for it to take any action, it's a majority vote of all the members, not just of those present. That's the general rule for the council to make a recommendation. When it comes to amending bylaws, the bylaws require the council to follow Robert's Rules of Order, which has a heightened vote. So it would be a 2/3 vote of all council members in order to recommend to the Board of Supervisors to amend the bylaws. One other requirement, the other key requirement with the Robert's Rules of Orders would be that there has to be specific notice. Amending bylaws is considered very serious for an organization. So there has to be advanced special notice of exactly what the amendment is being proposed. So in this case, it would be for the next meeting, there would be notice to everyone that they're going to consider specifically adding Carmel Unified School District representative to the council. And then they could consider that at their meeting. But that's the process.
Thank you so much. Public comment, any more public comment? And anything to add from the dais? Rick?
So just a point of clarification for me, the request. There were two requests that we've heard this morning. When we're talking about an amendment to the bylaws to add another agency to the council, is that as a full voting member, or is there an option, a differentiation between the voting and non-voting member? And that's just a question that I have for clarification.
And if I can just, while Michael's looking that up, there's two things that I've noticed in reading the bylaws. There is, by invitation of the council, what I read earlier, and that would be as a non-voting member, and that's in the bylaws, where someone can be invited to participate on a non-voting basis in the proceedings of the council on such terms as determined by the council. So that was in the bylaws. And then what we've seen in resolutions, such as one that I just pulled up from 2000. And this was when the Monterey Bay Marine Sanctuary was added. And in the resolution, it talks about the most recent additions to the council, I believe as voting members, because it reads, if you go down, whereas the council has functioned well to facilitate communication and coordination among the government agencies with jurisdiction in the Big Sur area and the Big Sur residents, property owners, and businesses, and Whereas on April 26, 1994, the Board of Supervisors amended Resolution 86443 to include the 27th District Assembly member, and in March 1997, amended the resolution to include the 15th District Senate member, and the council has benefited from these additions. So I believe those were full voting members. Whereas at its meeting on April 7th, 2000, the Big Sur Multi-Agency Advisory Council voted unanimously to recommend to the Board of Supervisors the addition of the Monterey Bay National Marine Sanctuary. Again, I believe that sounds like as a voting member. Therefore, be it resolved that the Monterey County Board of Supervisors hereby amends its resolution number 86443 by amending section 2 membership, so as a member, to add the name Director of the Monterey Bay National Marine Sanctuary, and that was adopted by the Board of Supervisors in 2000. So, Michael, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it reads like in the bylaws there was a venue for adding non-voting members, but it sounds like from the resolutions that were adopted, the Assembly member, the Senator, and the National Bay Marine Sanctuary, Monterey Bay National Marine Sanctuary, were added as actual members to the council.
That is correct. The council has discretion to invite non-voting participation, but it requires Board of Supervisors approval to add a voting member and amend the bylaws.
That's a clarifying point.
Of course.
I mean, I guess maybe even to speak in favor of the notice requirement that the agenda posted and duly published said that, you know, stated the bylaws. Now, it didn't specifically enumerate the amendment that is being proposed, which I understand. And depending on how you read Roberts, could say that we satisfy the requirement and a vote could be taken, and action could be taken today because it was listed as a new agenda item. Council might disagree with that. But we would request for the CUSD that we would have full voting membership as we are duly elected and in the jurisdiction of Big Sur to sit alongside our fellow electeds in the area.
So Matt, what I would suggest, and I would just, and anybody on this council is welcome to chime in. Since these were buried in a box for 20 years and they've just surfaced, if we could just take a moment to read them, recognize them in this meeting, and then there's nothing that precludes the district from coming to the next meeting, but we could even agendize it for the next meeting to have this conversation, and then the full council can have time to just get any questions answered in that meeting. We can have the district present, and then we can agendize it for the next meeting. That's okay.
Okay. Thanks for your consideration.
Yeah. And we have Jasmine Venegas here from PG&E. Jasmine.
Good morning. So I just wanted to come up here and introduce myself as well as respond to some of the comments from Martha Deal. And I just want to say thank you for the invitation from Supervisor Kate Daniels' office to be here. My name is Jasmine Venegas. I'm the government relations representative for the Central Coast Division at PG&E. So my job essentially is to be the point of contact for our elected officials. And so this is a great venue to be for me, right? And to the company. So point of contact and a resource to connect back to the company and gather information or get attention from whatever it is that the issue is requiring. And so I'm happy to be here today. This is my first BSMAAC meeting. I've been in this position for almost a year, coming up in November. So I did want to introduce myself to the community. I cover Monterey County, and so this is again part of the service territory that I cover for PG&E. And I look forward to the engagement. I do think that there's great value in being a part of these meetings and taking back whatever issues or concerns arise from the community. And at the very least, provide information, if not take back questions and then bring back updates and answer and escalate issues as they arise. And I look forward to engaging this council and the community in whatever form council decides is best. But yeah, I mean, count on us at PG&E to be a part of the conversation and to be present as needed. So thank you.
Thank you, Jasmine. And I really do want to just reiterate something that Martha Deal said, that this works best when we have that conversation here. So it's really important, Jasmine, that if there is a project or there is something that's going to impact the Big Sur area, that you're on our list, you know, when we're having the meetings, and that PG&E, as with Caltrans and the state parks or whomever it is, that we bring these projects well in advance to the council so we can have that conversation, and we can provide feedback, right, where necessary. So, with that, if there is no further comment, we can go ahead and close this item. I hope that it was helpful. I just really want, folks to be aware of the bylaws. Senator, do you have something to say?
I was gonna move them whenever we get to the right.
No, it gets, move them.
I move we approve the bylaw.
Melanie.
Yeah, I guess I just wanted to have just a brief comment. Yeah, no, I really appreciate these being placed because I was part of that conversation for the last multiple years of where are these bylaws, what are we operating under, you know, and how are agencies appointed. So I really appreciate it coming forward and knowing what's in place today. I think it's a good exercise. I think it's important to think about who should be at the table and how we could. I guess I would have just an administrative request. These are, now that we have these are the formal articles. I would love to get an updated version that incorporates what by resolution has already been approved, so that we can get something that comes back so that we could look at as a council how they are as approved today. I really appreciate the idea of considering new voting numbers that are appropriate. And perhaps just my look at this now that I've seen these and had a chance to review, having perhaps a little better amplification under the by invitation portion, because there are a number of agencies who are that by invitation, and perhaps helping to memorialize that more formally, like all of our law enforcement, public safety, et cetera.
Big Sur Fire.
Yes, exactly. So I think I would appreciate the opportunity for this council to be able to, one, just see a fully updated Word document that fully incorporates all the by resolution already approved, and to potentially bring back formally agendized consideration of the request of the school district, as well as more formally acknowledging who those non-voting members are that have been at the table, so that we don't lose that with agencies over time, if we have a number of individuals.
So this seems like then, I mean, there wouldn't be anything then, Senator, to move today, maybe next time, that we have a next quarter, we have a meeting, and at minimum, if we could get the updated bylaws that have all the resolutions that have been adopted incorporated, move those bylaws in the next meeting and agendize for that meeting, the school district's conversation. And if we want to have another conversation about other entities, you know, as well as our non-voting agencies that give non-member updates that we get, if there is a non-member entity that believes they should be at the table in a different way, we can have that presentation as well. But if we could re-agendize this for the next meeting, just continue it to the next meeting, that would be, I think, the best way to accomplish that, Melanie. Does that sound good to you? Okay, great. Ryan and then Rick.
I'm not sure if we have space for line edits today, but if so, I have a simple one, which is changing Coastal Property Owners Association to Community Association of Big Sur. Would be good for clarity.
Duly noted.
So I question whether are these bylaws in front of us today, are they not currently the approved bylaws? Are we wanting a motion to reaffirm the existing bylaws? Or do we want to wait and do some editing, updating, housekeeping on them, as well as consideration for the members all in one fell swoop?
I think that would be best. Any other comments?
Well, I want to thank the PG&E rep. I know she just stepped out, but I wanted to thank her for being here and suggest that that we agendize a presentation from PG&E at our next meeting, so that we can get a holistic accounting of all the projects that are here going on in Big Sur, And let that be the start of the next meeting of regular updates from BG&E. So I know Supervisor Daniels, you have Jasmine's contact, and we can invite her back and get her in front of the group next time.
Excellent, then I think we can just go ahead and close that item. Wonderful, okay, moving on now, we do not have any old business on the agenda. We'll just put a pitch out there that when you get that email a few weeks in advance of the BSMAAC, if you have an item, that's the opportunity to suggest it and to put it on the agenda and support both Congressman Panetta's office and my office to get the items you want to see at BSMAAC on the agenda. And we'll move now on to the reports from member agencies and start with Big Sur resident North Coast.
Thank you. Good morning, Martha Carson, Big Sur resident North Coast. And I wasn't going to report on this, but I forgot. And Marcus reminded me just very briefly about the car week, that if our law enforcement personnel are here. I went to town on the Thursday when everyone was coming south, which was fine because I was going north, but the first group of cars coming down were the Ferraris and the Lamborghinis and who knows what else. And I'm not opposed to speed, but these guys were out of control. There's no way they could have stopped it. For example, someone was turning up at Captain Cooper School or anywhere else. So I just wanted to mention that. And then as further I got to town, there were groups of the roadsters and the classic cars, and they were being herded along by CHP. And I thought, well, this is wonderful, but why aren't they up there herding the Ferraris along? So I just wanted to throw that out. If it comes up at all, my 2 cents worth is, if you're escorting people down the coast, make sure the Ferraris get escorted first, and then maybe the roadsters who go through that. So, yeah. Thank you for that. Moving right along, our Grange, I wanted to report on that. Last time I talked about that, I know, a big deal, but it is for us. We did get our new curtains for the kitchen, and the outside of the building is painted. So it's it's important we keep our structure in good shape. It is the only community place around, and there's many things that go on there. So those of us in the background try and do a good job doing that. We did have a potluck and a viewing of the movie Big Sur, the way it was, which was very well attended. And in fact, if you missed it, I think we're going to do it again because everyone seems to enjoy it. And then it is busy, as I say, with the Big Sur Circus was there. We had the Historical Society potluck, which was great. Big Sur Fire had community meetings. The health center was able to hold their fair down there because of the rain. So it is a valuable building, and we do need to take care of it. We're exploring putting a generator down there because, as we all know, the power does go out, and sometimes at the most inopportune time. So we're looking at that. We're getting prices on the generator. Red Cross also supported this idea of a generator because it is possible we could use the Grange in the shelter camp. And we do, just for information, they have 106 members. The Historical Society, and I know you all probably know this, but yay, our cookbook's done. So we threatened to get it out all this time. We finally have it out. You probably already know that, but it's a wonderful book. A lot of work was done. Slight error on page 12, which is probably my recipe. This calls for 40 ounces of peppers, and it's really only 4. Just an aside there. So they are available at most of the stores and resorts around here. You can get them online. I have to have 4 in my car if anybody's interested. $25, it's a bargain. Lots of good information, and of course the wonderful picture on front that Lyle Southall took, who's a member of the fire brigade. So it's a great book. And it is out and available. And we did have a potluck for that where people came down and made the recipes that were in the book. So that was fun to have. And we're planning our Christmas program already, which is members only. So if you're not a member, you better join. And lastly, we still could use some docent volunteers down there, and we are training. For Big Sur Search, our evacuation training is on hold until the Sheriff's Office gets updated information from the Department of Emergency Management. The outfitting of our disaster trailer is pretty much done. We had our CERT logo put on, Red Cross taken off. And it looks very good. Inside, after going to Santa Cruz, Red Cross put in 100 cots, 200 blankets, and 100 goodie bags, which are like overnight bags if people are stuck here and have no refresher, toothpaste or whatever. So we're gonna put up a shelter tent down at the health center where it used to be parked, so it'll be protected. And that will be ready to roll for the event of another Rocky Creek or whatever. We are gonna do some disaster shelter training with Red Cross. So that's moving along. Scheduled training for the year is almost done. We have one more CPR class in November. We did go up to Captain Cooper School for the earthquake drill and the kids, which Matt made report on. He had fun with that. I won't go there. We do have one more CPR class. And we will be out tomorrow at the River Run. Hopefully we will see all of you there. And then the ball mask, we help out with that as well. So there's a full CERT class in February, which is in Monterey. And it's 3 Saturdays, 8 hours each day. If anyone is interested in taking that, we could use a few more members on our CERT team. That would be great. And the Trailhead Ambassador Program, I don't have a report on that, but I do know we need more volunteers. And it's really, I know we're all busy and we do a lot, but you can get by with as little as 4 hours one day a month sitting there, greeting people who are going in the backcountry, advising them on pack it in, pack it out, not to build fires, and finding out how many people are going to Sykes, for example. So it's a good program, and we really could use some more help down there. Most importantly is we try and remind them to either have a filter or take enough water, because there are so many times lately that we're getting a helicopter back because they're dehydrated. So anyhow, I won't go there, but it's a good program and we could use more volunteers. And lastly, I just mentioned it at our last meeting about the Choose Rich Lookout. Our roof is leaking. And we did get some nice donations, so thank you to those of you who are here who gave us donations. We have enough money to replace our roof. Unfortunately, with the government shutdown, the key people, the Forest Service, who would take care of this, weren't available to do it. So I think we're gonna limp through one more winter with a leaky roof, and hopefully next year we can take care of that. Oh, I'm sorry, I had one question. I read September 20th is Coastal Cleanup Day. Is that always the same day? Does anybody know that? Did you know this?
Yeah, it's always on the weekend.
Okay.
There we go. It's always on the weekend. I don't have the date for next year's Coastal Cleanup Day. Dan, do you know? Okay. But it is always a Saturday in September.
Well, I just didn't know if people went down to Pfeiffer Beach on that day, and if not, it'd be a great day for locals to enjoy the beach without having to pay and go down to Cleanup. Thank you. I think that concludes my report.
Thank you, Martha. Big Sur resident, South Coast.
Good morning, Lucas Handy, South Coast representative. During our last BSMAAC meeting, several issues were brought forward that required attention. So I want to just begin today by expressing immense gratitude for the responsiveness and collaborative spirit shown by this council about those issues, and by the agencies that stepped up to help resolve some of these challenges. I think it's important that we not only bring new issues to the table, but also take a moment to recognize the positive outcomes. So I'll start by highlighting those areas where we've seen real progress since the last meeting. That's okay. The first one is a follow-up about the highway contractor reckless driving. The issue was that residents had repeatedly voiced concerns about unsafe and aggressive driving by subcontractors working on Highway 1. Caltrans followed up immediately after our last meeting on behalf of the contractor supervisors, who issued a sincere apology to South Coast residents and committed to correcting the issue. Since then, there have been no further reports of serious incidents. Residents now feel supported, knowing that their voices are heard and that the action is being taken seriously. Additional note, South Coast residents have also expressed appreciation for Caltrans's visible efforts in preparing the highway for the upcoming winter season. The second issue was the mail and package delivery issues. The issue there was that since the highway closure, South Coast residents had experienced highly inconsistent mail delivery, receiving postal mail only once a week. Larger packages, including those from UPS and FedEx, had been completely cut off due to South Coast addresses being marked as undeliverable. The action and resolution that we saw from Diane, sorry if I mispronounced her name, Zanotti.
Yeah.
Congressional aide from Congressman Panetta's office responded immediately after our last meeting. She worked directly with USPS to identify a practical compromise. USPS determined that rerouting mail from Slow County for a small number of 93920 addresses would be too costly and risk service disruption for North Coast residents. However, to improve service in the meantime, USPS agreed to increase South Coast delivery from once weekly to twice weekly, Tuesdays and Fridays, effective October 7th. The couriers travel down the 101 from the post office to reach us, and we are grateful for that commitment. Both Supervisor Daniels' office and Congressman Panetta's office attempted to find a solution for the package delivery from FedEx and UPS. However, it has been determined that those private companies do not have the same responsibility to find a solution for us, so that issue remains unresolved. However, the USPS improvement has already made a huge difference for residents on the South Coast. So I want to sincerely thank Congressman Panetta's office and Supervisor Daniels' office for their collaboration on that. The third issue was the waste management service disruption. Due to the highway closure, trash pickup had been reduced to every other week, creating significant hardship for residents and businesses. Supervisor Daniels' office coordinated with waste management in both Monterey and San Luis Obispo counties to find a workable solution. So as of October 6th, Slow County Waste Management has taken over the Monterey County contract for our area, restoring weekly pickup service. South Coast community is deeply appreciative. Thank you, Supervisor Daniels, Claudia Link, and really great time, attention, and swift action on that. That wraps up the major resolutions that came out of our last BSMAAC meeting. On behalf of the South Coast community, I want to say thank you. These actions make a tremendous difference in daily life for our Monterey County residents living south of Regent Slide. Now moving forward, I'd like to highlight a few ongoing issues, new matters, and suggestions provided by South Coast residential input and consensus. The first one is healthcare access and Medi-Cal services. Because of the slide, South Coast residents who rely on Medi-Cal cannot access services in Monterey County without tremendous hardship. Residents remain on administrative status under Central Coast Health Alliance for Medi-Cal coverage through Slow County, which is typically supposed to be temporary. Going into year 3 of closures, residents have experienced delays or outright denials for procedures and local services in Slow County. This is becoming significantly hard. We are asking if any of the agencies here could help look into the situation, specifically whether South Coast Medi-Cal members can continue accessing services from Slow County, or if adjustments can be made to restore administrative flexibility. Number 2, Nosmino Ferguson Road maintenance. The county has nearly completed asphalt patching of the potholes on the west side of Nosmino Ferguson Road. However, the east side still awaits that maintenance. This road remains a vital emergency and alternative route, especially heading into the winter season. So we want to thank Monterey County Public Works for the work completed so far and respectfully urge attention to the remaining section before the winter weather really sets in. Number 3, this has to do with Shale Point and Mud Creek access area. The new Shale Point recreational access area, established by Caltrans and previously presented by the Coastal Commission, appears to be complete, but its management and public accessibility are unclear. Currently, the site lacks basic amenities that would support public recreation, such as picnic tables, restrooms, or trash receptacles. Additionally, signage at the top of the driveway reads "No trespassing state property," creating confusion about whether this area is open to the public as originally presented. Recently, locals attempting to access the coast for fishing and kayaking were confronted by Fish and Game officers and quote unquote harassed for trespassing that area. The community is seeking clarification. Is Shale Point open for public use? And if so, who is responsible for managing this area? Lastly, one resident suggested that if this area will be formally named Shale Point, that the responsible agency consider giving the Selenian or Ashland tribe an opportunity to provide a name out of respect to the ancestral heritage in the area. Number 4, guardrail safety. This is an ongoing concern that's come up several times. The concern is that several stretches of Highway 1, specifically on the south coast, still rely on dirt berms instead of guardrails. These areas, especially around the Cape San Martin turns, pose extreme danger. Residents on the south coast often bluntly refer to these dirt berms as death threats because vehicles that lose control can hit the berm and be launched off the cliff rather than potentially contained into the roadway. So we want to ask Caltrans to reassess these sections and consider retrofitting them with proper guardrails where possible. Lastly, Regent Slide reopening. The tentative announcement of the reopening date for Regent Slide brings immense relief to the South Coast. After nearly 3 years of isolation, businesses, students, and residents can finally see a light at the end of the tunnel. We recognize that many variables could shift that timeline, but there's a collective sense of hope and gratitude for the agencies involved. So thank you, Caltrans, and everyone working to restore this lifeline. We do ask for continued consistent updates as progress continues so that our community can plan and prepare accordingly. And there was actually one last thing I skipped over. That's it. So yeah, this concludes the South Coast report. Sorry, sometimes it feels a little bit winded. A lot of South Coast residents have not been able to come to the North Coast, so I appreciate being able to represent them on their behalf. And yeah, just want to thank you guys again for your work on those issues. The progress just really demonstrates the power of this council. Thank you.
Thank you, Lucas. Is it the chamber now? Yes, Big Sur Chamber of Commerce.
Thank you. I want to follow some of Sharon's earlier comments on the Big Sur River Run. I think this, the River Run has been going on since about 1981. It benefits two of the most critical local organizations we have, the Big Sur Fire and Big Sur Health Center, and the positive economic impact that the River Run has had on those organizations and therefore the community is immeasurable. And so, it deserves all the community support that we can muster. I want to acknowledge Post Ranch Inn for a couple second year of receiving the Michelin 3 Award, and significantly being a nominee for the Michelin's newest award, the Gateway Award. They were nominated for that one as well. And this, basically follows a long list of awards that Post Ranch has accumulated over the years since their opening, and well deserved. And finally, just to congratulate county staff. Melanie, you must be beside yourself for finally getting the vacation rental ordinance across the finish line. I know it was a long, complicated procedure process, a complicated ordinance because of the divergent needs of various areas of the county. And so thankfully, it's not a perfect ordinance, but it's a very good one, and congratulations. That's all I have.
Thank you, Rick. We will go to the Community Association of Big Sur.
5 brief items for us. So I'll pick up right where Rick left off, with just mentioning appreciation for Melanie Beretti, Craig Spencer, and Supervisor Daniels for your work to get us across the finish line with 2 important amendments brought to the Coastal Commission that most folks here are familiar with, and Janet spoke about earlier. The short-term rentals amendment, which capsaws a balanced approach to a complex issue that our community has faced for a very long time now. And more recently, the ADU amendment, which we strongly believe will add more housing opportunities in Big Sur, giving property owners opportunities to build ADUs where that's compatible environmentally. And that will help our workforce with the provision that those rentals must be multiple months at a time. So thank you to everyone involved in that. And one future thought for ADUs is any possibility about expanding the types of ADUs to also include a unit like a tiny home on wheels will lower costs and improve opportunities for folks in that way. I know that's complicated in terms of county rules and regulations. Tiny homes on wheels are commonplace in many other places, so we do hope that that is a possibility in some form moving forward with future changes to those kinds of policies. Item number 2 for us is the CAPS traffic counter. This is one that CAPS has worked on for many years. It goes back to Butch Cronlin, who put in countless hours to make this happen. I've never heard of a community organization installing a traffic counter, so I think it's a one-of-a-kind national thing for this to happen. And it's of value to the broader community for a few reasons. Now that it's fully functional and running, we have a visual representation of trends over time. It's different from what the data has been in the past, which is Caltrans occasional counts. So we have day-to-day, week-to-week, month-to-month counts that are easy to understand through the visual representation of those things. A good way to find out about that is through the CAPS newsletters. So if folks haven't signed up for those yet, please do sign up. There's lots of good info there, including occasional reports on the traffic count that helps people understand trends and plan for the future. Item number 3 is about the ongoing fire adapted Big Sur work that Rainer Marks leads. 2 important things to mention there are the Big Sur shipping program has progressed, and there's 155 requests from this year that led to 2,900 cubic yards of slash from 441 acres. It's a large scale project. It operates year round, and it's done some important work to improve the defensibility of spaces in Big Sur and move us toward a fire adapted community. There's no fee to participate. There's an option still to do so. This has led to some local folks being hired through Perez Services, which has led this work with Rainer. Item number 2 for fire adapted Big Sur is the wildfire preparedness assessments that fire adapted Big Sur offers. So this is an opportunity for property owners to utilize the gold standard for fire safety through provisions created by organizations like Hellfire. Rainer can walk a person's the exterior of their home, spot vulnerabilities, identify barriers to access for things like fire engines, recommend cost-effective improvements, and prioritize actions so that people can ensure that they have the most defendable space possible, the best fire adapted space possible. A note about that is it's not something shared with insurers. That's just a report from recommendations from Rainer to the property owner. Moving toward concluding our report, just mention that we're appreciative that Jasmine came through, I think it was Martha Deal's recommendation, Supervisor Daniels. In the Palo, Colorado community, there's been 2 extended closures of the road from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. without much notice. We know it was an emergency circumstance with the power line that was down there. I think the issue is that the only notification at the beginning was a road sign and people weren't sure if something was really happening. So I see a good future step as a corresponding email to the neighbors list, which is well read. And I could be a point person for that with working with Jasmine. That would be helpful, I think. And what Assemblymember Addis had mentioned about a list of projects from PG&E would be helpful for this group too, to be better informed about what the future holds. Last item for us is it's fundraising season. If the CABS newsletters and things like the fire adapted Big Sur work have been meaningful to you, we encourage you to donate to CABS during our upcoming MC Gives campaign, which will launch soon. And I'll conclude just by mentioning appreciation for everything that Steve Beck did for our community. I knew him for 8 years, appreciated and respected him so much. He's truly irreplaceable. We can try to move forward in his spirit. What was mentioned about him being somebody who showed up, being pragmatic, and I think Geraldine mentioned being present and speaking from the heart. Those are unique things, and we can all aspire to do the same. The first time I met Steve was running up Clear Ridge, and it was after a big storm. He was clearing some of the road and doing that as a volunteer just to help out neighbors, not expecting that anything was going to come from that other than knowing that he was helping those who he lived next to. I asked if I could help him, and he said, "No, I got this." So that was very much Steve in his element, and he will be greatly missed.
Thank you. County of Monterey Planning Department.
Yeah, thank you. Again, Melanie Brady, Chief of Planning with the Housing Community Development Department. So I will keep this very brief. It's been well noted that the vacation rental regulations are now in place, and today is the day that they go into effect in the coastal zone areas. The regulations are structured so that they have a 2-month come into compliance timeline. What that means is if you're operating without permits, you need to come in and make an application by December 24th, or cease the operation by December 24th. There is a webinar today. I want to thank Supervisor Daniel's office for arranging for that webinar to be broadcast down here. I will stay present and help answer any questions, since I don't believe from this location you can interact via the webinar. I did want to do a point of slight clarification, and again, we can clarify it further in the webinar, but guest houses may not be rented separately and individually. However, we do treat them as bedrooms, as a part of whole home rentals. We also treat them as a bedroom that may be a part of a homestay. So they can be utilized. I do understand it's a little bit of a nuance, and we're trying to make sure that that's a bit clear to folks as we move forward. Also, noting our accessory dwelling unit regulations. So we did get coastal commission approval as submitted for those regulations. Those will be coming before the Board of Supervisors for final adoption on November 18th. It will be 1 month, and the regulations for accessory dwelling units will go into effect. We look forward to doing a similar webinar rollout of what's in the regulations and the area to help inform the public. And I appreciate the model of bringing a webinar here to Big Sur for a little more accessibility. So our team is happy to work with the supervisor's office. That's something that would be beneficial for the community as well. Also, just to note, we continue to update our housing element for unincorporated areas. We will be bringing an update to the Board of Supervisors on October 28th. I'd really like to note, while we don't have specific targeted opportunity sites for housing here in Big Sur, I really want to make sure that the Big Sur community is following and tracking our housing element. A lot of the program and policy implementation will impact and hopefully help facilitate the type of housing in some better ways that's needed down here in Big Sur. Also, there are a fair amount of opportunity sites at the mouth of Carmel River, which is the gateway of Highway 1. We're hoping that that will help provide closer proximity to some more affordable housing for the Big Sur community. But also, that's how we will get home and so forth. So yeah, just want to make sure for the community that we're fighting for you, and those who want to be engaged, stay engaged. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions, then I'll be back for the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Melanie. And before I introduce Joe Narvaez from the Monterey Peninsula Regional Park District, should we take a moment to introduce the new general manager, or am I stealing your thunder?
No, we certainly can. It's on my items here to present. I'll start with that one. So it's my pleasure to introduce our new general manager, Eric Morgan. He's been on since August, and he's been on with us since August, and he came from BLM as a manager of the Fort Ord National Monument, where he managed more than 14,000 acres. So it's a good fit with us with our acreage. In 2022, he earned a Secretary of the Interior's Meritorious Service Award for his work in Fort Ord. Comes highly recommended, and we haven't had. I wrote that one. And I'm going to talk about the Rancho Cañada Floodplain Restoration Project, which we're into right now, but we haven't discovered any unexploded ordnance there yet. So if you do, Eric is our man, pro in that. So welcome aboard. It's been great so far working with you. I'm in this Ranger Division. Ranger Joe Narvaez in for supervising Ranger King Camarillo here. So we're happy to have him on board. Just a few updates. Our Rancho Cañada Floodplain Restoration Project is underway. It's been in the plan for several years now, and it's a huge project. A mile of Carmel River is being restored at the site of the old Rancho Cañada Golf Course. So it's going from golf course to wildland, rewilding they call it. First phase is nearly complete with several 100,000 cubic yards of dirt moved from the lowland to the upland to allow the floodplain to be reestablished. So the river there was highly channelized and it was prone to flooding. So that's a huge flood relief there. More than 100,000 native plants have been planted, and the planting will be ongoing in the next couple of years. An aging golf cart bridge, which is getting ready to collapse into the river, has been removed, and we'll be installing a new river that will allow emergency vehicles to cross over from the north to the south in that area in Polycona Park. And the objective is, of course, to add 40 acres of habitat restoration benefiting wildlife, threatened species, steelhead, red lake frog, salamanders, tiger salamanders, and of course the public. So we'll have a new network of trails connecting to the Polycona Front Ranch, and the old golf course trails are being retired, and so we'll have a new trail network there in the coming years. That was phase one. Phase two is next year, starting in spring, going through fall, and then a year of rehabilitation after that. So we're almost done with phase one, year one, and we're going into phase 2 and 3 in the coming years. You can see progress at Polycona Restoration. A lot of good photographs, time-lapse photos, updates, and good information there. That's polycronarestoration.org. The Park District continues with our winter prep with all our parks, Garland Park, Polycrona, and others. A lot of culverts, road work, parking lots, buildings, and infrastructure. We're doing that as we do every year. Garland Park, the footbridges across the Carmel River at Dam Pier Ballpark in Garland will be coming out in the next couple of weeks. So we always do that every year. We're hiring. If you know anybody, let them know. We're looking for a finance manager, an environmental education assistant, and an administrative assistant. Our Mill Creek Web Preserve on Paul Colorado Road remains closed as it has been since the Silver Runs fire and the subsequent road damage in the winter after the fire. Still closed. And I already introduced Eric Morgan, so we're happy to have him on board, and that's what we've got for the Park District today.
Thank you so much, Joe. California Coastal Commission, Braylon.
Good morning, everyone. As was brought up earlier, the 41st Annual Coastal Cleanup Day, which is the state's largest annual volunteer event, was held on September 20th. This year's theme was Trasher Hunt, where special prizes were hidden for volunteers to find during the cleanup. Participants won everything from hotel stays, tickets to theme and amusement parks, gift cards, tickets to a Giants baseball game, a ceremonial first pitch at an A's game, an e-bike, and many more worthy prizes. As usual, the most common items collected included cigarette filters, food wrappers, plastic straws, and other utensils. This year's award for the most unusual item was an emotional support pickle. With like a handmade, like knitted pickle with an emotional support message on it. It's pretty cute. There's a photo of it online. To the question about future coastal cleanup dates, they're on Saturdays in September. Our report will announce the date in the BSMAAC preceding coastal cleanup, and you can also just Google it. So if you want to participate, I don't know if there will be similar prizes next year, but we'll see. Since the last BSMAAC, the commission approved 2 amendments to the Monterey County LCP that were discussed earlier. Those are the ADU amendment and the short-term rental amendment. I'm going to skip over some discussion of that because I think we covered it. But I do want to extend our thanks to county staff for their hard work and collaboration on these 2 amendments. It was a lot of work and a really good outcome, so greatly appreciated. The commission's draft 2026 through 2030 strategic plan is currently available for public review and comment. You can find the draft plan and instructions on how to provide comments on the commission's website at www.coastal.ca.gov/strategic plan. And comments are due by November 10th. And that link will be in my report in the meeting notes. Finally, I wanted to introduce the commission's new Southern California Transportation Program Manager, Eric Stevens. Eric was previously the lead planner for transportation projects on the Central Coast, and as manager, he will cover Monterey County through San Diego. This is Eric, and I believe I don't have anything on the Shale Point question. I don't know if Eric, if you do, or Caltrans.
I could add in the clarification that the maintenance road going down to the Mud Creek abutment, the commission did not require that be open. Caltrans pointed out it just wasn't safe yet for access down there. And at the Shale Point Access Road, as part of a previous permit about a decade prior, the commission worked with Caltrans to require that to be open to the public. So the public should be able to walk down that Shale Point Access Road and get down to the beach in that location.
And lastly, as always, commission staff continue to coordinate with Caltrans, Monterey County, state parks, and other partners on forthcoming projects in Big Sur. If I didn't cover something you're interested in, or if you have any questions, feel free to ask or come up to me after the meeting.
And Braylon, I'm not gonna let you skip over the heroic effort of the Coastal Commission staff for getting the short-term rental ordinance across the finish line, because it really truly was not just county staff, but working for a very long time with the Coastal Commission staff and the work that you all did. And I was no help sitting behind you, like I should have just left the room because I was going crazy. But you guys really conveying the ordinance and its intention and how this was truly about public access in terms of the decisions that were made. We couldn't have gotten across the finish line without you guys. So I just want to say thank you so much for what you did, along with Katie Butler and with Kevin Hahn and with Dan Carl, who was totally insulted in that meeting unintentionally, I think. And so, yeah, thank you so much.
It was a fabulous process for me to see the amount of work that it took for us to get early work on both of these ordinances. It would be with Coastal staff to also really see that dynamic with staff and commission. So really, really grateful.
You're very welcome. Thank you. Okay, we're gonna now move on to Caltrans. Aaron Hinkle.
Thank you. Real quick, I will try to find out more about the Shell Point signage when I go back to my office. I don't know for sure right now. Lucas, I will have people looking into the burn guardrail issue. There's a lot of geometric issues with that, because a lot of times it's just a sheer cliff down and there's really not enough room behind the guardrail to be able to allow the deflection and everything else to make a safe situation. But I understand what you're saying. With a constituent that had the question about all construction signs, I'll talk to our construction division office chief and see if we can get some resolution to get things cleaned up on there. We do have maintenance staff that do pick up trash along the highway. About a month and a half, 2 months ago, I actually had one of my staff members that was hit by a car here in the Big Sur area picking up trash. So no, we do have people out there. It's a challenge. But we don't want really anybody trying to do that along the highway, but there are about the highway availability. So that's something that the community could look into doing as well. And that would help as well for the community. So hopefully I've answered those questions. And then I'll go on to my report. Regions update. I know everybody's tired of regions, including myself. Been an ongoing drama for a long time. We're still moving dirt as much as we can. When the weather's allowing us, we're out there 7 days a week. As long as it's clear. If there's fog, we really can't get up there because of safety factors. We had a little bit of rain, but that didn't really slow us down except for the 1 day of rain recently. Excuse me. We have implemented since the last BSMAAC meeting, Regions website. So everybody can access that to stay up to date. It has a weekly update on infographic and we announced the estimated opening date to be the end of March of 2026. So I'll keep our fingers crossed that we have a fairly mild winter. Currently the work is involving grinding and blasting through a problematic rocky layer that's quite a ways up the slope. I've had crews out there blasting recently. When that's done, there's 2 chutes that are there, which will have specialized excavations called spiders that are airlifted in place to help move the talus pile on down. We don't know what the road condition is below, but as we move down, we will be able to evaluate that and see what we need to do to keep it open. Recently, people might have seen helicopters. They were laying some chain fencing on the slope to reduce the slide from rolling and everything. So they're moving forward, starting to do that at the higher levels. So that's what's going on with the regions. We have been working for reducing the speeds along the area here from post mile 58 to about post mile 64, from Coast Road to Garapata. We are thinking that we'll be able to reduce it down to about 45. Our traffic department still has to finish the study, and we're working currently with CHP in coordination to make sure that they're doing what we're proposing to do. The new speed limit signs will go up, but we will be able to reduce some of the curve warning signs that are out there. That'll be a net of 0. So you won't see any reduce, but you won't see any gain. So that'll still be good. I think it will help for the community to have a lower speed limit to like Garapata and everything else in Dixie. And then CHP and state parks will be able to actually enforce it, because these will be black and white signs, and there will be a speed zone study that will be enforceable. On to bridge rails. I know that over the last few years, like with Garapata and stuff, there was a lot of communication about the bridge rails. Everybody sees what's up on the screen. Due to the fact that we're looking at being able to reduce the speed down to 45, we're able to look at possibly going to a lower crash worthiness of a device. So we can reduce it from what we call TL level 1 to TL level 2. That only has to be able to accommodate 45-mile speed limits. This is an option that we're looking at. We haven't finalized it. But it kind of gives you an idea of what we're possibly doing. I know this was shown at the byways meeting recently with John. So take a look, see what you think. We're going to try to slowly move this forward through our process. We have to start all over at Garapata Bridge Rails, but we're also looking to use this at Rocky Creek.
Can you help me understand what we're looking at? Is this the same railing? Because it looks like it's 2 different railings.
There are 2 different styles. One's the 511H and one's the 86H.
And both are for a 45-mile-an-hour speed limit, or one is for and one is the.
We're looking at the 511H, what we're looking at.
That's the one in the middle, let me see.
I can't even see it.
The bottom 2. Just want to be clear, so this is the proposal right here.
Yes.
The above one is the proposal that was brought forward.
Yes.
I recognize it.
So by doing the traffic studies, it's gonna enable us to be able to give something. I think that the community would appreciate a little bit more. But we still have some limitations, and we're not finished. We don't have the speed zone survey in, and our structures division is still looking at this, and the team is still looking at it. But please give us comments to what you think. And we're kind of limited because of what there is in the time frame that it takes to test everything. Yes, ma'am.
It appears to be a major improvement.
It definitely helped to be able to reduce it down with the speed limit, and so that's a huge benefit for the community. And this will also help out all the law enforcement in the area. Because now if they get somebody going through there at 60 miles an hour, they can pull them over and give them a ticket, because it will be official at 45. So that's
also add, drive time for commuters, residents, well, to slow down highways. So there's pros and cons there, everything from me driving slower on the side.
If I could ask a question along those lines,
Yes.
is the question would be what, speed limit signs aside, in terms of the contours of the highway, what is the general speed when you approach one of these bridges? I mean, is it, if you bring the speed limit down to 45 miles per hour, is that a major reduction in what people are going through these
No.
bridges at?
no, because what we have to do is we have to take speed survey data on either side and see what the average speeds are doing. There are some spikes, and what we've noticed in other areas, believe it or not, A lot of the speakers are locals.
So if, just though, if, keep in mind that we really do want to get feedback from the community, where would the next appropriate venue be for having this conversation? Will you be at the next byway organization meeting? About this topic, or is that about something else?
I won't,
John,
John's usually going to the byways, I generally do the BSMAAC.
I just want to give people as much of an opportunity to weigh in about this as possible and get their feedback.
And our design teams will be reaching out during the development of the project report and our environmental determination. Because they have to go through all that, and part of that is to reach out and do public outreach. This is kind of the precursor, trying to get it out to the public and let everybody know what we're looking at and give kind of a pulse on what everybody's thinking. And hopefully be able to move something actually forward for the community that fits your all needs as well as our needs for safety.
Thank you, John.
I'll just add that this is the baseline of a bridge rail that we have found that's, close to and fits within the needs of the corridor, of course, we do it now. And there will be opportunity in the process of each bridge. There are certain design elements and features, aesthetic treatments that we want to work together with the community to find the allow.
And next steps in terms of that community input?
Probably, well, I'll definitely bring it back up again in the next byways meeting. It's probably not gonna be an agenda item per se to talk about, but this is the beginning. We're not getting ahead of ourselves. We want to get ahead of ourselves with this bridge rail. We've come across it. It has this potential to work really well, but we want to take it slowly, step by step.
Thank you.
They still need to, as I'm developing things, also incorporate everything with the coastal commission's input, as well as your guys, the local community's input, and see that we try to make it amicable for everyone involved and everything else. So they'll be looking at like the architectural aesthetics that you might want to it, colors, things like that we can do that won't jeopardize the safety of the bridge route.
Thank you.
Aaron, just a clarifying question for you. When you say from Garapata to Coast Road, are you referring to the Andrew Malera side of Old Coast Road or the Bixby side? That zone that reduces speed. Okay.
Bixby is part of it, so Bixby,
Yeah, so it would
Bixby
be,
is going to be reduced.
Okay, Caltrans, is that conclusion of your update?
So you're gonna see a lot more projects on stretches of this area. Rocky Creek, I know right now is open. Come about January, we have another ECE project. And so you're gonna be back down to one lane on Bixby, or on Rocky Creek, sorry. And that will go on for a while. So
What kind of project?
So ECE for the,
it's to get the chlorides out of the concrete and to be able to restore it. So we're not having to watch it fall apart and then have to replace it.
it's a treatment.
It's a treatment it's an electronic treatment to get the chlorides out of the concrete in a simple way. But they do it has to go down to one lane in order to do all the work, so you'll have a temporary signal there once again. That's why you still see all the stuff up there at Rocky Creek.
Can you say it for a while, what's that mean?
It'll be up to 2 years.
Can you just repeat that? You're planning to go down to one lane for up to 2 years,
Yes, ma'am.
starting when?
Sometime after the first year, January-ish. The contract's out to bid currently.
And is it a flexible start date?
When you say flexible, or within.
Well, we've had almost a 2-year over a 2 year, almost, we're moving into, I'll just say, I think we're moving into potentially close to 3 years of road closures in Big Sur. And now we're talking about another going down to one lane for potentially 2 years. I think it's a lot to ask the community at this moment in time. And so I just would urge that you kind of think about that timing and get Region Slide open before constricting.
We can't wait that long.
So I just,
Because once the contractor bids on it and everything else, they only hold their bid for so long. And then it becomes.
I would just urge more discussion. I'll just say that. I'm not asking you to make a decision right now, but I don't think that's the best decision at this moment in time, given what the community has dealt with Region Slide for such an extensive period of time.
Martha?
I'm just curious, is this one lane a hard closure one lane, or can the lights be changed to make it 2 lane?
It'll be a hard one lane.
I'm going, thinking about that because of the marathon.
When's your marathon?
That's in April. Well, not our marathon, but last year I understood it was a cluster, but.
We'll just have to work,
So just,
we would just need to work through our encroachment division.
so
And
if
see
it'll
what
be a
can be
hard
done.
one lane, it's not like you could change the stoplights at all.
No.
Mark, if I could add, we did this exact same work on Garrett Bridge. Recall that, and that type of operation where bridging down one lane, and when events like the marathon does come through, we do work with the account organizers to make sure that things are open. We don't work on those days, so while there may not be 2 full lanes of the bridge open for a marathon, there won't be work happening. It'll be open and free like we have for other years.
Or it won't be 2 full lanes then. One.
On the bridge itself, just like it was for Garrett for the last time we were marathon.
Maybe, yeah. Marathon goal.
And just to be clear, it was 1 lane in the marathon last year, so it wouldn't be any different than what happened last year. What? So the comment was that it was a big mess during the marathon at Rocky Creek last year. Is that what you're saying?
It's just, this is the amount of time it takes to do this type of work. We can't, there's no way to speed it up.
Can you give us the name of the treatment without the initials? It is called.
Do you remember that?
Electrochloride extraction. What
Yes.
it does, it's a bridge preservation. It allows us to continue to keep the historic bridges. It adds life to the bridge. And essentially, the lane is shut down because part of the bridge structure needs to have less weight on it, and there's also work that happens along the way.
And just to be clear, we've heard about this treatment over the course of several BSMAACs, not to say that it's not a surprise to hear that it's gonna be 2 years, but we have been briefed on the need for this treatment for all of the bridges over the past several years.
And we've attempted in all of our stakeholder meetings and in our Caltrans reports, every time we do highlight, we understand the sensitivity of coming closely, but to try to address that, we have been transparent and we talk as loudly. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, moving on, still Caltrans, are you done now with your report? Sorry,
One real quick,
Aaron, keep going. Bring on the bad news.
Mud Creek Coastal Development Permit, we're developing an access improvement plan. These next few months with the public input, we introduced this at the byways. At the last byways meeting. And are here today, we'll bring it back, the next byways. And follow up with some specifics, events held in both Monterey and San Luis County. More details to come, but please look for meeting invitations from us. And I'll conclude it there.
Okay, yes, I've got a comment. Question.
May I just ask again, since Caltrans is speaking right now, is Caltrans responsible for the, orange cone look at Bixby? And if so, I don't know, no, okay.
If they're not ours, we don't typically want them out there because then the public hits them,
Okay.
people take them, they run them over.
Thank you, I just wanted to know. Thank
No
you.
worries.
And we can get some clarification as to whether or not that's County Public Works or CHP. I am not sure, but we'll find out. Maybe even by the end of this meeting. Okay. California State Parks and Recreation.
All right, thank you. So Brent Marshall retired almost a year ago as district superintendent. I've been promoted into the deputy, so I'll announce myself as the new district superintendent for Monterey District. And now my position is vacant. Nothing will change for state parks for a while, so. I did want to provide an update on trying to get the original Frenzel lens back into the lighthouse. We have John O'Neill here with Central Coast Lighthouse Keepers. So Yeah, John's here in the back. So, we're working on engineering planning to seismically upgrade the lighthouse to protect the lens when it's reinstalled. In 2016, John and CCLK reached out to the Coast Guard to determine the future of the Frenzel lens. It was built in 1888, installed in 1889. First lit in August 1 of 1889. So it's in storage. After the engineering planning, getting the seismic upgrades, there will be some other actions that'll be needed, environmental conditions to protect the lens and temperature and humidity, getting it back into the lighthouse, and the road was a big part of getting the lens back up there. So that's an update on that. That's exciting. We were able to re-roof the MAP Visitor Center and the dorms where all of the seasonals for the Forest Service and state parks live to service the park and Forest Service lands. That was about $175,000, but the work is all completed now. We've got funding to try and fix the road up here. That'll be our entire road allocation for the district this year. So we're trying to get the contracting to get that done. Might have noticed some smoke on the drive down or in here last night. So we burned over 60 acres yesterday with the U.S. Forest Service in Andrew Malera on the uphill side off of East Malera Road. That's 5 plots we've burned now in the last 3 years. That was mostly grassland restoration and fuel reduction work. With CAL FIRE and a number of others, it went really well. We're flying drones this morning to look for any heat indicators, no heat indicators left. So a really successful burn there. Rocky Ridge Trail realignment project. We're working on the CEQA document for that. That should be out for public review by the end of this year, working with on tribal consultation on that currently. The Point Lobos shuttle and reservation program, working to provide shuttle service into Point Lobos and get better management and visitation there. We're working on the coastal development permit with the county and coastal commission on that one. So that's moving forward, still moving forward. And then on Marcus, you know, that one's, it's in the land use plan, restrooms at those 2 locations. What we've done is try and put some proposals together. That'll go through, you know, the CEQA and the permitting process. There might not be a feasible, you know, we may not have presented a feasible alternative, you know, given the land use plan, the challenges with accessibility, the highway issues that Martha's brought up, I think in the past really well. But it you know, cost is always an issue for us. The screening is obviously an issue, and how can you screen things? And I really appreciate everybody that's made it out, that's provided comment. We're still taking comments. There's no environmental document yet, so that'll have to go through the environmental process, the permitting process with coastal and everything. And you know, it's possible that one or both locations are just not feasible. So I just want to share that.
Yeah, I think just like you can save money by proposing things out of the use.
Yeah.
So, you know what I mean? Like that's gotta be the step going forward, because unless you change the land use plan, which maybe the draft update has that, but now it's just not. I would even argue that porta potties are actually a violation.
Yeah, so out of the view shed there is tough, you know, if we put something on the east side, then people are running back and forth across the highway, so you have to deal with that. And you know, agreed, it's tough all the way around, you know, and yet people do have to use the restroom, so we're faced with that as well. So I understand that's a tricky one. There's not many challenges, you know, that I've kind of been faced with that are that tricky, you know, having to provide restrooms, not being able to have something you can see, having the costs and the highway associated, and how do you get back and forth to process. So again, please continue to provide the feedback. It's really critically important for us to understand whether there's a conflict or so. And that'll conclude my comments. Thank you.
Thank you so much. The next two items, the next two members on the agenda are Monterey Bay National Marine Sanctuary and the United States Forest Service, and those chairs, as you can see, are empty. Likely because of two things, the Doge effort on one seat and the shutdown on the other. So just saying, you'll get to that, I'm sure. So we're moving on to the 5th District of the Monterey County Board of Supervisors, and that is me. So I'm going to start by thanking my team members, Claudia, Mink, and Kimberly Craig in the back for making this happen. Really appreciate them both and working with Monterey County Business Council and Jordan Caballero, who's here, who's been doing the Zoom opportunity. And I will say now, so it's on everybody's radar and you can feel free to provide your feedback. But the plan is that when Regent Slide is open, this Herculean effort to get the Zoom capability up and running will no longer be happening. We will go back to our in-person meeting once the road is open. So just want to give everybody a heads up, and if you have concerns about that, by all means, reach out to us, but that is the plan. Then moving on to other folks that made this happen, I want to make sure to thank everyone. I can't tell if Sarah's in the back or if it's just Katie Scariot. Is Sarah here and Katie, or just Katie? Just Katie. Katie is from Housing and Community Development, and she's the one who's responsible for doing all the minutes and being here to manage this meeting. So thank you so much, Katie. I want to thank the Big Sur Lodge for hosting us for all these years and doing what they do. And it's so cool. We always see Martha Deal in the room, but to see Jessica Hartzell, the other District 5 planning commissioner, it's really great to have you here. And Jessica and Martha and I, just to give you a little update, have been going back now through the Big Sur Land Use Plan update. And after getting feedback from the Coastal Commission, what we're trying to do is really reduce any of the additional edits that were unnecessary, not needed, like continue to sort of reject those changes, getting back to the original document as much as possible, but then making the edits that we have all discussed, but just trying to minimize the impacts to the original as much as possible as we go through, and then continue to take on some of the larger challenges that we still have to figure out to make this work and get a final, get a new draft, a new version to everyone by the end of the year, like a Christmas present. You know, with the bow, folks will have the opportunity to take a look at what we've done, provide feedback, and there'll ultimately be another stab at it at the Planning Commission in the beginning of the year. So that's where we're at, and that's something that we've been working on, continuing to work on each week. I also wanted to just, I made the comments about the short-term rentals, but just to thank again, Melanie and Craig and Braylon and everybody who really fought on behalf, I think, of Big Sur at that Coastal Commission hearing and did a tremendous job. And I'm just so appreciative of that work and wanted to make sure I said that. And then there was some comments about the housing element, and I do want to bring that up because it continues to be the one priority that I have that sort of seems impossible to actually make progress, but really drives my sitting in this position, and running for office, and it is to figure out how we can make Monterey County more sustainable for all of us. And that means having a community. And I know that that's something that Big Sur has faced with real housing challenges. Our roads are heavily impacted by the distance that commuters have to drive to get to and from work. And it's something that we all know hasn't always existed in this area. You know, I did grow up here, and I grew up at a time when folks could live here, and that's getting harder and harder. And on the other side of that, we have so many community members, 2 Big Sur community members that I know, that live in their cars. It's unacceptable. And so really trying to take the work that the county's doing at the behest of the state and actually make these plans that we're drafting for the housing elements something that can actually work and make progress and build these units. And so that's something that I continue to work on. And I will not feel like I have been successful at all if we don't move this needle and make some progress. And so it's something me and my team are really focused on every single week to try to do the impossible and make this place more livable for all members of our community. So we've got the South Coast updates, trash and mail. I'm glad to hear that we had that progress. And I know that my team is working on two things that were mentioned at this meeting. One is the comments that were made about the massage therapists and the hours that and these changes. I am not familiar with it, but I have had some briefing from Kimberly Craig, my chief of staff. And if you pull her aside, she can give you an update, but I just want you to know it's on our radar. And the conversation is being had about this issue, as well as the issue that came up about Medi-Cal. And that I believe Kimberly is working with a county supervisor in San Luis Obispo to try to figure out how we can make some progress and provide that access for folks on the South Coast. So those two things are being addressed, and we will have an update for you at the next BSMAAC and to Lucas Handy and to Esselin well before that, before the next business meeting, before the next BSMAAC meeting. And so with that, let's see if I have anything else on my list. I think that is it. I'm looking forward to the next byway organization, and I know that Martha Deal is going to provide an update on that, but I think it's going to have to do with Parkett. And no, I've got it wrong. I was hoping for an update on the cluster that happens at Point Lobos, but we'll get to that in a little bit. But anyway, yes.
Just a plug for the next byways, the focus is gonna be the Coast Highway Management Plan, and we're working to update it.
Okay, even better. And you know, I want to just, while you're there, the Coast Highway Management Plan, there have been some comments that have been made here about the highway and the state of the highway and cones and work that's being done on the highway. And I really want to sort of maybe direct people to that byway meeting for that conversation, because that's a real appropriate place to have that conversation. It's really somewhere we could actually make some progress.
Absolutely, thank you. It's gonna be Wednesday, November 19th. Mark will be emphasizing that she knows up for the official report.
I'm standing behind him, so I don't have to say it again.
Potentially working to hold it here at the Big Sur Lodge, not confirmed yet, but if we can do that, that provides more accessibility, a state, more stable internet, the larger rooms, a place we all know and have been to, so. But that is our focus, is to kick off that effort and really, it's not the nuts and bolts of the meeting, of the effort, but it's digging down to what it's gonna look like over the course of the next 3 or so years. 10 o'clock.
10 a.m. hopefully here.
But hopefully here, you'll be getting an email invitation from Kate Spirit, hopefully soon. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
But again, what I would say is, because we only have 2 hours, 4 times a year, we're really dedicating this particular meeting to the understanding what the opportunities for engagement are with the Coast Highway Management Plan. So a lot of these other issues where we would be able to go into them in more depth, we aren't looking to do that at this upcoming meeting. We hope that we can find a better way to respond. And we already tried to recruit Heather to the filings.
Yay, Heather, we do have an opening. Excellent. Okay. Thank you so much. And with that, I'm going to move on to the 30th District California State Assembly.
Thank you so much. Well, I'll first start with echoing all the thank yous, Supervisor, and to Mr. Garcia, who's here to represent Congressman Panetta and Senator Laird and his staff. And then you all know my staff, Mauricio Arias, who's here and who comes when I'm not able to be here. He's waving in the back at you. But we invite you to grab his card if you haven't talked with him. Mauricio has done tremendous work organizing around Bixby Bridge. We had a number of meetings, have had some successes there. I'll also extend ourselves on the Medi-Cal front if the supervisors need any support from our office. We do a lot of the interfacing with Medi-Cal as my health budgets chair. And so thank you to the South Coast resident. I know what it's like to live down there. I actually am on in Morro Bay, so have experienced what it's like when you can't get up here from the south. It makes it tremendously difficult. And I was talking to Congressman Farr the other day, who you all know and love, and he said, you know, BSMAAC, and I'm sure he said this to all of you, but BSMAAC is the only place in the world where you have this many levels of government and agencies that come together in one place for this kind of conversation. And it's really thanks to all of you in Big Sur. And we'll just say so sorry again for the loss that we've had, and tremendous leader that was here and for so many of these meetings. But we basically do three things in our office. We have constituent services, we do budget things, and then we pass policy. And then of course, Senator Laird and I are part of the inaugural Central Coast Caucus. So I thought I'd just share a couple of the things that have happened through our office. We just ran the numbers, and through constituent services have recovered close to $600,000 for constituents who have been trying to navigate various state departments such as unemployment and trying to get money back for those folks. Sometimes it's in the tens of thousands of dollars. And I know when the road closure first happened, we heard from people quite a bit that were needing help with EDD and filing EDD claims. And so if you or you have employees that still need help, please feel free to contact us. I think I mentioned last time I was here that I actually spent 8 hours with John and with Caltrans going up to the region side and touring and seeing the work that was done there. And then we have monthly meetings about what is happening with progress there. So really happy to hear that the website is up and that there's more information out there. I think that's what I hear many times from this community is just give us the information. We understand Big Sur is hard, but we love living here. We live here for a reason, but we really just want the information up front so we can plan our lives. So I want to say thank you to Caltrans for making movement there. We just, through our office in August, hosted an insurance town hall, and I encourage you to go take a look. It's online on our website, but it was around fire insurance, home hardening, what you can do to protect yourself, how you can maneuver through the insurance world. I know that's a problem for many people right now. And then last week hosted a scam stoppers seminar. So this was really about online AI, deepfakes, construction licensing board, insurance scams. That is also online. And so I want to offer it to the community because certainly many of us, we had one person come who had actually been scammed out of $74,000 out of his retirement money. And we had other people come that say they've gotten calls from Medi-Cal, from Social Security, from dead relatives, from people their siblings used to be married to. So it's really an important issue, and I just want to offer that resource to you. We are also have been in a lot of conversations with the supervisor's office as well as local law enforcement around trying to boost patrolling in Big Sur. We've heard that issue come up a lot, particularly when it comes to parking and Bixby Bridge. So I know our offices are working together on how we might come up with a better solution there. That is on the constituent side. On the budget side, I just want to say congratulations. 512,000 went out the door in October to the Youth Community Accent Grant Programs, and awardees included Ventana Wildlife Society, Save Our Shores, Ventana Wilderness Alliance, as well as the Carmel River Watershed Conservancy. So money coming into the community that we're very proud to be able to support at the state level. And then on the legislative side, I know that this meeting is really truly about Big Sur, but I do want to mention that we are tracking very closely and looking for how we can provide solutions in the face of what the federal government is doing at the education level. I know that Senator Laird is the Ed Budget Sub-Chair on the Senate side. I used to be a teacher and sit on the Ed Policy Committee, and so we passed AJR 7 to push back against cuts at the federal level to the education department that are particularly detrimental to students with special needs. And then I think the last thing I will share with you is that as a Central Coast Caucus, we have a priority bill package, but one of the bills that passed, I think, was so important for the Big Sur and the entire region, which is the Blue Skies, Blue Whales program, which is voluntary speed reduction from ships so that we have less whale strikes. This program was expanded. It was a pilot program off of Santa Barbara coast. It's now expanded statewide. And so we're really hoping that that protects the wildlife that we all know and love here on the Big Sur coast. We also, I don't take credit as author of the bill, but I will say the two of us absolutely supported, and I certainly voted for it to be passed and voted for it to be a Central Coast Caucus priority bill, but it was Assemblymember Hart's bill. We also, as a caucus, I just want to mention briefly about the roadless rule, which is a rule that has been in place for decades that prevents roads just from being plowed through federal forests, such as Los Padres Forest, untouched areas. The Trump administration has moved to start to erode the roadless rule and put more roads through federal forests. And so we spoke out against that as a Central Coast Caucus and submitted a letter in the comment period. We also know that the Trump administration is looking at expansion of oil drilling, both on land and offshore. There was a new memo leaked around potential offshore oil drilling off the West and East Coast. We haven't yet taken a position, but we did submit comment as a caucus around any expansion of onshore oil drilling across the Central Coast. And so we're really trying as a caucus to make sure that your voice and the things we know you believe in are represented in what we do in Sacramento. And finally, just want to say thank you to all of you. It's such a pleasure to come to BSMAAC. It's one of my favorite meetings of the year because it really truly is interactive and you really do get to have a conversation and interact with your federal officials and your state and local officials and agencies. So with that, I will turn it over to Senator Laird, I believe. Senator Laird.
This.
Click it on.
That was me.
Yeah, I had it on. So anyway, great to be here. I appreciate the report that just happened because a lot of things, we're working in the same direction, but I'm going to the clinic later today to take a visit. And one of my favorite anecdotes is when I was resources secretary, we cut the trail to make sure people could get out at the north. It was the clinic that reported the anecdotal evidence that there were a bunch of kids that were a little overweight and pre-diabetic, and after hiking the trail every day to get to school, that disappeared. And it was, that's another reason, like, you understand that the clinic has its pulse on what's going on here. That happened. Also want to congratulate John and State Parks on the lens getting up there, because we got that money in the budget for the 4th and 5th bridge so that it could get up there. I would have hoped it would have been up there sooner, but I'm glad that that is moving. And I'm glad to hear that Sam Farr is nostalgic about these. Because I remember when he was chairing the one that went to dinner time. So that's just funny on the face of it. A few things to mention. One is I have a regular monthly call when the Rocky Creek stuff was going on. It was actually weekly with Caltrans to go through things that are entirely going on in my Senate district, and Big Sur has been at the center of it. And so many times I will hear from you and I will reflect that to them and then get back to you, but it doesn't always get reported to this meeting, but always working to make sure that they are up to date on the information, that they're considering everything they need to, and with the needs here. And so that is going on. I was speaking earlier this week to the Carmel Rotary and the Carmel Valley Rotary, and one of the questions was, are we always going to fight to reopen the Big Sur Highway? And I sort of said, yes, absolutely. It's a lifeline economically and just for the beauty, but that just comes up all the time. I hear it in different places, and I just have to fight to make sure that people know that road needs to be open forever, and that we will work on it in different ways. Supervisor Daniels was thanking everybody repeatedly on the short-term rental ordinance, but I want to thank her because when she went and sat for hours at the Coastal Commission and they wanted to start messing with that ordinance, I think it was the fact that she was sitting there the whole time facing that, rebutting it, that kept that at bay. So I just want to make sure that. And then, just in addition, a few updates of this session, because some of them might be statewide, but they're very relevant. In the budget, you all approved the climate bond last November, and we just appropriated the first $3 billion out of the climate bond. And over 250 million went to the Coastal Conservancy. And so when we did the move that we reported on here at BSMAAC to do that first 4.5 miles of the coastal trail in the south part to start the long process of the footprint that's been agreed on, now the money has been appropriated. So when we get to a project, hopefully that means that the money that had run out before the bond is now there to be able to do that project and any others that we want. We were both on the working groups and I was on the negotiating team for the Senate for the cap and trade renewal. And there are two significant things out of that, in addition to just renewing that program. One is that we will be coming back next year to appropriate $1 billion that we didn't do this year that's out of cap and trade. And there might be different issues that are important or need to be done. I mean, some of the transportation stuff, the sustainable agriculture, some of those were approved already, but they're coming to the legislature will be that additional pot. And so I'm already hearing from lots of people, but we're going to be taking a real look at that. The other thing is that one of the key parts of the cap and trade renewal this year is applying hundreds of millions of dollars from cap and trade to electricity rates, so that there is a climate dividend that is going to be bigger and more direct coming out of cap and trade that hopefully over time you will see reflected in your electricity rates. And so that was a big deal this year when we did that. I know that Emmanuel is going to talk about the federal budget, but I should just say that HR 1, the private preliminary estimates are that's a $5 to $8 billion hit to the state budget. We will not be able to backfill everything that is a federal cut. We did extra money in August for food banks because we saw the SNAP, formerly food stamps cuts coming, and we want to make sure the food banks are funded statewide to try to move in behind with the food. We used almost every available discretionary dollar in the June budget to make sure that there were no cuts in Medi-Cal or very limited cuts in Medi-Cal. And I, in the last week, have met with 4 different hospitals in the region. I was at Chunk earlier this week, Salinas Valley, Natividad, and Watsonville. And we dug Watsonville out of a hole and kept it open when a hedge fund wanted to shut it. And now the cuts to Medicaid are going to put these hospitals back in jeopardy again. And we're going to work really hard to try to figure out how they survive and they get through this. That will be a challenge. And I'll join the supervisor and the assembly member if there's any help with the Central Coast Alliance or Medi-Cal about making sure that people on the South Coast get seen in San Luis Obispo. I'm happy to help with that. And then I should mention that the offshore oil, we're actually having a press conference in Santa Cruz against it next Wednesday and trying to line out that issue so that it's clear. And Monterey County and 26 cities and counties still have their ordinances in place from the 1980s that say if there were going to be any onshore support facilities, they're subject to a vote of the people for a zoning change, so that the people reserve the power to vote on that if any proposals like that are done. And the one thing about the budget, I mentioned 5 to 8 billion, but that doesn't include cuts that don't pass through the state budget. There's some medical cuts that don't pass through the state budget. One of them is Planned Parenthood, and the governor just announced yesterday, that was the one cut that went into effect on the day the law was signed. All the others were put off till January 1st, but the Planned Parenthood one was immediate. The governor has estimated that it's a $350 million cut to clinics in California. And yesterday he agreed to support $140 million to partially backfill those clinics so that they're not cutting services because of those federal cuts. And we will probably look at more if there's more to do when we come back. The other one that's off the books that affects the region is the University of California. There are $3 to $4 to $5 billion of research grants that are being cut, and some of them include clinical trials and things that are very important to people. And while we can't backfill that, we're just going to look to see if there's things we can triage so that things are not lost. And one of the things that I was able to get into this draft budget this year that may affect here is that of the 10 University of California campuses, the 3 that are least funded or not, at least funded adequately are those that don't have a law school or a medical school. And UC Santa Cruz does not have a law school or medical school. So in the budget this year, we took the first steps to establish a medical school at UC Santa Cruz. The first class is going into UC Davis, and then we'll come back to the Monterey Bay to do residency and work. And the chancellor's plan at Santa Cruz is not to have one medical school at one location, like on campus, but to have facilities and supports all around the Monterey Bay area so that it helps distressed hospitals. There's a real problem recruiting physicians because of the high cost of living. There's real problems keeping some support staff because of the high cost of living. And if there's a medical school, it might help support services at different of the distressed hospitals. It'll help attracting doctors here and maybe keeping them here after medical school. And it'll be a long process. This year there were 6 students, next year there'll be 8, then 10 and 14, and they'll all come back to the Monterey Bay area to do the training and residency after Davis. And we're hoping that's an initial pipeline for new doctors into the region. So that was in the budget, that first class, and trying to start the march down there. Then lastly, I sent 14 bills to the governor. I was lucky enough that he signed all 14. In one that might be relevant to here is that there's been this big fight about housing in the coastal zone. And there have been people across the state that represent it's this binary choice. Either choose affordable housing or you choose coastal protection. And I did a bill that starts the process for cities and counties that don't have local coastal plans approved. One of them happens to be the city of Monterey, that the affordable housing in the existing zoning would be prioritized in the coastal commission and get out of the way and try to move ahead with those projects. It is unlikely that Monterey will be targeted as one of the first places to do this because we still have the water border. And there's about to be a proposal coming from the water district and supported by the mayors on the peninsula to reorder the Carmel River water border to allow for more housing. And there is one particular affordable project in Monterey that has been blocked by that. The minute they file that, which is I think going to be today, there's ex parte prohibitions from talking to the water board except by letter in the process. So I made a point of calling the chair of the water board this week before those ex parte kicked in and walking him through what was the need on the Monterey Peninsula on the water order in the hope that they will look favorably on the revision and that housing can move ahead within the Carmel River border and on the Monterey Peninsula. So we're working on that. Taken more than my time, but I just wanted to report on all those items. And as I keep saying, I never have to ask you to stay in touch. That is not a problem. But that's what we're here for, and we just need to hear from you if there's any issue with the state agency.
Thank you, Senator. And then before we go to our 19th District, United States Congress, I'm just going to have the non-member agencies get ready for your comments over here by the microphone. And the reason being is we do need some time to be able to make the switch between this meeting and the 1 o'clock start time for the short-term rental ordinance. And if I can ask everyone, as soon as we adjourn this meeting, try to keep this area clear. If you have conversations, bring them to the back so we can switch out the wiring that we need to, so we can show the short-term rental ordinance item on the screen. Thank you so much. So Manuel, 19th District, United States Congress.
Thank you, Supervisor. My name is Manuel Garcia. I'm the District Director of Congressman Jimmy Panetta. He is unable to join us today due to a previously scheduled family commitment, but we appreciate the opportunity to provide a federal update. Currently, the government remains shut down as leadership in the majority refuses to negotiate on funding for reopening the federal government. Speaker Johnson has kept the House of Representatives out of session since September 19th. That means that there has not been any votes, nor any committee hearings, and nor has he sworn in the new member of Congress from Arizona. Complicating the shutdown, the administration has chosen to fire thousands of federal workers, withhold federal grants to a number of states, including California, and rescind certain programs. Just about 8,200 federal employees live in the 19th Congressional District. While some, including the Coast Guard, military, and federal law enforcement, are being paid, the others are either furloughed or required to work without any pay. Government benefits like Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security will continue to be accessible and paid, but resolving any of these issues could take more time than normal. If the shutdown continues through November, there may also be many disruptions to programs like Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Programs, known as SNAP, previously known as food stamps or also known as CalFresh, the Women, Infant, Children's Program, also known as WIC, and Head Start. Please know that Representative Panetta has developed a shutdown guide for anybody with questions and is in contact with all the federal agencies in CA19. You can get that guide by going on our website, and there's a red banner at panetta.house.gov. Furthermore, Representative Panetta's 5 offices remain open, and we are ready to assist anybody having issues with the federal government during this time. Again, please note that we are open and working, but that federal agencies may take longer than normal to provide responses. Representative Panetta also has taken steps to mitigate the effects of shutdown going forward by co-sponsoring the Securing Assurance for Federal Employees Act, SAFE Act, which would prohibit mass layoffs during a government shutdown. The Pay Our Troops Act of 2025 to ensure that members of the military may continue to be paid at the event of a government shutdown. And the Prevent Government Shutdowns Act, which keeps the government funded at current levels when regular appropriations bills are not passed in time. During that period, Congress may only consider appropriations legislations and members may not. Members may not travel. There you go. As many of you have noticed, the Los Padres Fire Ranger is not present today because of the shutdown restrictions, because of shutdown restrictions. However, Representative Panetta is in close contact with the Forest Service and with Ben. While the Forest Service is furloughed, the recreation technicians assigned to the Los Padres National Forest, firefighters, biologists, and law enforcement were deemed essential and continue working. We're aware that some applications and processes have slowed down because of furloughs at Region 5 headquarters. Nevertheless, Representative Penta continues to work with these constraints and is working for opportunities and progress. In our request for negotiations to fund and reopen the federal government, Representative Panetta continues to protect healthcare for working families. On November 1st, due to the One Big Beautiful Bill, millions of people across the country who rely on the Affordable Care Act will see their health insurance prices significantly rise and at least double. If the Affordable Care Act credits are allowed to expire by the end of the year, as mandated by the One Big Beautiful Bill, more than 22 million Americans will see their premiums rise, and it will lead to 4 million Americans losing their health insurance. In California's 19th Congressional District, 33,000 people could see their health care costs rise considerably next year. These credits are not just used by individuals and working families, but they affect small business owners whose employees use the Affordable Care Act for healthcare. Representative Panetta continues to push leadership at both parties to negotiate to the negotiating table so that they can find a bipartisan path forward to open the federal government, protect healthcare, lower prices for working families. As Representative previously reported, earlier this year, the House voted to pass the Fix Our Forests Act, a bipartisan common sense approach to improving forest health and protecting our communities from catastrophic wildfires. This bill would help expedite forest management process, reduce unnecessary legal delays, and bolster federal, state, tribal, and local collaboration on wildfire mitigation. Earlier this year, Senator Alex Padilla and Senator John Curtis compromised on a version of the bill that was reported out of the Senate Agriculture Committee, which is a positive step toward passing both chambers and ultimately becoming law. With California averaging 7,500 wildfires a year and fires becoming larger and deadlier, as we well know in Monterey County, Representative Panetta believes that a time for action is needed now more than ever. That is why, despite pressure from certain groups, Representative Panetta will continue to do what is right for the people of the 19th Congressional District. Representative Panetta continues to conduct oversight over the actions of the administration when it comes to a number of things, including disaster assistance and recovery. He continues to work with his colleagues to push back against the phase-out of on-ground capabilities and urge the Department of Homeland Security Secretary Noam to approve the outstanding disaster reimbursement payments for our communities to recover and build. Representative Panetta will continue working with his colleagues to provide robust oversight of this agency to ensure help is getting to the people and places that it is needed the most. Representative Panetta continues to coordinate with federal, state, and local officials to bring NOAA weather transmitter to Big Sur. He continues to contact NOAA and the Coast Guard to push the project forward. He recently held a meeting with NOAA and the National Weather Service, where he pushed them to pay for the filtration equipment the Coast Guard needs to allow a weather transmitter to be installed on their tower at Post Ranch. Fortunately, after that call, NOAA decided to pay for the filtration equipment. Because of that commitment, the Coast Guard was able to approve the co-location request for the transmitter, but has denied access to a shed that would provide necessary shelter for the equipment and power source. Unfortunately, due to the government shutdown, the leadership of the Coast Guard is refusing to do anything during this time. Nevertheless, Representative Panetta is pushing them to secure a meeting with the Coast Guard to explore possible solutions. Thank you all for your continued partnership. Representative strongly believes in the collective power and partnership of our community here at Big Sur. Thank you.
Thank you, Emmanuel. And the last item we're going to have on the agenda is the report from our non-member agencies and who we have today. And in this order, it looks like we have the California State Parks Law Enforcement Officer. We have California Highway Patrol. We have Monterey County Sheriff's Office, and we have Chief Harris. Am I missing any of the and we have our byway organization, Martha Deal. Okay, and then I'm just gonna repeat it one more time because I'll adjourn immediately after this. If you can take your conversation to the back of the room so we can swap out the cords for the second meeting starting at 1. Mr. Dipple.
Good afternoon. I'm Mike Dipple. I'm the Chief Ranger for California State Parks, Monterey. I'll hang out after if anybody has some state park law enforcement specific related questions. Just real quick, I wanted to give an update. I made a trip down to Limekiln State Park last week, which is just, in my opinion, one of our most beautiful state parks.
It's been open for day use during the closure. Our intent is to hope to open it once the closure reopens to camping, but really a beautiful park, and it's great to get down to the south coast. Just to report out on our law enforcement numbers for Big Sur, we're currently down historically. The high point, we had about, I think, 11 rangers at Big Sur, and now we're at 6, including 1 sergeant, with the hope to hire 2 additional folks here soon. But we'd love to see those numbers increase over the next several years. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. California Highway Patrol.
Good afternoon, Lieutenant Chris Decker, California Highway Patrol, Monterey area. Again, thank you very much for the extending the invitation. The California Highway Patrol remains a committed law enforcement and traffic safety partner to all of our brothers and sister agencies, as well as the community of Big Sur. So thank you. I did hear 3 truck complaint or 3 issues regarding school bus passing, car week complaints, and the cones at Bixby. I don't have any answers to any of those at this point, but I will speak to my officers and I will work on the cones. Car week, we understand, we all understand it's residents of Monterey County that it's an annual event. We'll do what we can. I can't make any promises. I will speak to Officer Yers and Officer Loza about addressing school bus issues and trying to get them out there amongst their kids. I'll be around for a short time after. One note, Commander King, who you've have seen here several times, is actually going to be transferring to the Barstow area effective on November 1st. So he will no longer be here. Captain Erica Elias should be meeting with you guys the next time. So if there are any questions, I'll be at the back as well. So thank you for your time.
I would like to say, Lieutenant, that if we all brought certificates for Commander King, can we provide those to you so you could get them to him?
Absolutely.
We would love to do that. So
Yeah,
before you leave, we all have certificates for the commander.
Very good. Thank you.
I'm Commander Brandon Smith of Monterey County Sheriff's Office. Recently, well, 3 months ago, transferred out of the jail and I'm station commander out of Monterey, and I also cover the city as well. Right now for our staffing, I just had 1 trainee finish the FTO program, so we're at about 46 deputies assigned to patrol all of Monterey County on 12-hour shifts. So we're still significantly short, but I have a lot of trainees in the training program. We're working at building it back as much as we possibly can. Currently, right now, I'm also in charge of the search and rescue team and the SEAT team, which is the Sheriff's Emergency Assistance Team. I'm trying to do a big push for a big recruitment for search and rescue. I currently have 33 volunteers. I'd like to build it up to 100. So we would be about as big as like San Luis Obispo's team and some of the other teams up north in the Bay Area. So if you have anyone, or if you have any family members or friends who are physically fit enough that would love to join our search and rescue team, we fast-tracked our background process. So we're gonna be able to burn through the background process a lot faster and get more people on the team. And same thing for SEAT. I only have about 17 volunteers. A lot of those gentlemen are retired law enforcement, and but you don't have to be in retired law enforcement in order to join. It's much more low key. We're not gonna slap a 90-pound backpack on you and tell you go hiking. And a lot of times they work special events, parades, car week, but we also use them for major emergencies like when we had fires. And it's not a matter of if, but when the next fire, flood, earthquake, whatever you want to call it, hits us. For search and rescue, we're the premier search and rescue team here in the county. So we respond first, and if needed, we have one of the best search and rescue teams in the state. So I'd just like to continue to build that. So, and if you have anything specific, I'm gonna hang out. Chief Bixler and I are here. We'll hang out and try to answer any questions you have.
Could you take on the acronym you used and what it stands for? SEAT?
It's the Sheriff's Emergency Assistance Team.
Thank you. And Commander, both you and State Parks mentioned the the reduction in deputies and patrol. And so I did want to reiterate something that Assemblymember Addis mentioned in her update, that she is convening a meeting of all law enforcement to try to once again, so we've had this meeting many times over the years, but to tackle the enforcement challenges that we have on the Big Sur coast. So definitely keep an eye out for that meeting so we can continue that conversation. And thank you so much.
And not to take up too much time, but one of the big factors that affects the sheriff's office is the Hernandez lawsuit in the jail. Hernandez lawsuit. So, but we've been making significant progress in that. From the time I was promoted to commander, I went in the jail. We're sitting at about 12% compliance. We're over 60% compliant in a very short amount of time. So this administration has made more progress with the Hernandez lawsuit than the previous administration. So we're definitely headed in the right direction. If we keep going, then we will be able to get out of that lawsuit, and hopefully it's going to free up a lot more funds once we get out of it. So that's all a lot of progress. We're doing really well on that.
Thank you so much. Chief Harris.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm not gonna use the mic, if that's okay. I'm gonna report out on 3 divisions for Big Sur Fire: the operations and crew, ground division, and administration. Oh,
Also pursue.
presume.
Yes, sorry.
Okay. As Zoomers. Big Sur Fire, I guess I realize I haven't been in the last 2 meetings, and I apologize for that. I've had some scheduling conflicts. The meeting I was at last actually introduced our hand crew, so I'll start with that. The season's wrapping up this week. As many of you know, or hopefully all of you know, we started a 21-person hand crew this season. It's fully funded for 2 years. And it's been a complete success, with the exception that they never actually got to respond to any wildland fires in California, which was one of their main carrots. But they did an immense amount of work here in Big Sur. They wouldn't have been able to do it without the partnership that I'd like to personally thank Director Shaw, and congratulations on your new position. The hand crew is able to reside here in Big Sur thanks to them, which was a critical component. They did participate in the prescribed fire yesterday at Andrew Malera. That was a total success. They treated 70 properties all throughout Big Sur, except for the South Coast. We never, for obvious reasons, we're not able to get there. But we did make it up into Apollo, Colorado just last week. We also treated several roads, which will help improve access for our fire engines and water tenders, et cetera, and for the other agencies. Immense thanks to Rainer with Fabs and Patty with Cabs for the collaboration and our ability to participate as a shipping contractor. So we were able to really make good use of the opportunity. Let's see, we have applied for 2 large grants with CAL FIRE to the California Climate Investment Act, and we're hoping that will be supported. I know we have unit support, but that's going to be gonna need actually greater support, I think, to make those things happen, especially due to the decrease in funding. When we go over to the operations division, we had Fire Prevention Week last week at Captain Cooper School that Martha mentioned. Sir was there. It's an awesome opportunity for our firefighters to interact with the kids, who are, of course, our future firefighters. We actually get to light stuff on fire, diesel fuel. And 5th graders get to actually put out the fire with extinguishers, and all the little kids get to watch. It's actually really fun. We also do the same thing at Pacific Valley School, and that's part of our Fire Prevention Week. Big Sur Fire is really focused on transparency, and I'd like to thank actually our board chair who's in the room, Sharon Petrosino Wilson. Transparency, I think, is just really helpful for everybody, and I know that all the agencies up here, the whole purpose of this meeting is to get information out. Part of that process is actually holding town hall meetings. We held 2 this year at the Grange, and they were very well attended. A chance for us to have a real intimate conversation about issues surrounding at least fire. We're going to continue to do those, so look for one of those in early next year. We're also holding a community and public safety meeting on Monday, which all the invitees have received their invitation. It was mentioned by Cabs, fundraising season, of course. MC Gibbs, Big Sur Fire participates in that as well. Keep an eye out for our annual newsletter, the responder newsletter, that'll be coming out. And that's fundraising for all nonprofits. It's not just us 2. Let's see, the river one was already mentioned, the ball mask that was mentioned. So just for the operations update, we've ran 245 calls already this year, which is incredible considering that the road has been closed to that through traffic. Most notably, we had an overnight rescue just the other night where crews hiked through the night on the Pine Ridge Trail. We have 9 new firefighters that are getting lots of experience, and they're gonna be doing their state certification test here just after the new year. I would also like to take a moment to acknowledge the late Steve Beck. He did serve on the board for a very short time, but it was a very impactful time. And that being said, we do have some board seats available if anybody is considering running or would like to participate at a higher level, and not to be a firefighter per se, but think they can contribute to this community and this organization. Please reach out to us. And I think that wraps up my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Martha, do you mind if I let us start moving to the other meeting while you're making your announcement? Is that okay?
As long as it doesn't cut off the opportunity for the Zoom people to hear the.
Then you keep going, right?
Okay,
Yes.
I promise I will try to faster than usual.
Oh, no worries.
The Big Sur Byways Organization next meeting is November the 19th from 10 to 12, hopefully here, as John said, because we need you all to participate. I'm just gonna say that the Coast Highway Management Plan isn't just alphabet soup. There's CHMP and everybody's eyes glaze over. This is the handbook that Caltrans uses to guide how they operate this highway under all the different challenges and interests that we have here. The process to develop the Coast Highway Management Plan that they got now and that they use now included all the voices here at the table. It was a truly collaborative effort. And that's what we're going to be talking about this meeting, not necessarily the substance, but how we're going to work with the Caltrans team who will be meeting. They have a special team for this at that time. How we can develop the same kind of collaboration that we had before to update the management plan that we have now to better take into account all the new changes that we have today. But every single one of you at the table, and most of you here are going to be affected by this thing. I really hope that you'll find the time to at least weigh in on what you think the process should look like. So that's my pitch for that. In other news, I just want to give really sincere thanks to Aaron and John and the Caltrans team for bringing a new outlook to the bridge rail issue. And it's not just about bridge rails. I mean, thank goodness we are able to have a conversation. That's the main part. We have now seen, and you saw here after we saw it, a very early, before everything's set in stone, literally, idea of how we might go forward with a complicated problem. So I just want to congratulate y'all and just really appreciate that. Maybe everybody shouldn't just jump on the idea and find holes in it, because we're so happy to have them. Bring it to us early on so that we can, as I have to say, collaborate on a solution rather than put ourselves in the positions of criticizing a decision. So I just want to think that's so important. It's a big change and it's hugely appreciated by me. I also want to say that there are a whole lot of other things that happened at Byways that we can't go into right now because Kate will throw me off the microphone. But it's a very wide-ranging conversation like it is here that brings different thoughts together. We had a whole conversation, and I give us an example about the choke point issues and safety that we continue to have, what actions we've taken in the emergency task force, which ones we find, which kind of responses we found to be useful. That ended up in a big discussion about transit and as a possible way to help improve public access, potentially fulfilling some of the public access requirements Caltrans has with some offsite mitigations that they need to provide while affecting the choke points. So we decided that we are going to look at making a Byways meeting particularly focused on transit and buses and invite MSP and invite transit people in. And I just note that the Assembly Members Bill actually provides some additional resources for these agencies to try to do some of this stuff, to see if we could address the problem in a different way. That wasn't where the conversation started, it's where it ended up. I really want to recommend, if you haven't gotten on the list, you can get any reports and minutes from those meetings, if you can't attend. And it's going to finish up by saying, we'll really miss Steve.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Martha, and we will get the list of 2026 meetings out soon. And this meeting, again, thank you to the Big Sur Lodge. This meeting is now adjourned. Please take your conversations to the back of the room or outside, and we will get this short-term rental webinar up and running as soon as possible.
Oh, that's great.